Greetings, and TGIF, everyone. How are you? How was your week? Did you have a great week? Was it fast, slow, mid-tempo? How was it for you? I hope it was good. Chicago, not bad. Weather was pretty nice. Really didn't need the air conditioning on too much, so able to save a little bit on electricity. Now the traffic, on the other hand, boy, I tell you, it was Lollapalooza time. You know, everyone is talking about the baby was told he couldn't perform because of his uh, what he had to say, his comments. Well, Lollapalooza kind of taken over the traffic and everything else last week. Let's see, Thursday through Sunday. So traffic rerouted, blocked off here, blocked off there, and it was just a hot mess. So it was best to stay away from downtown. So whatever you had to do last week, if you didn't do it by Wednesday, you were going to be in trouble. And that's what ended up happening. It was a hot and a mess. Now I did go downtown recently because they opened up everything. Now after Monday, the people were still out there working, removing all the gates and cones and bricks and all that kind of stuff, the borders and everything, getting everything back functioning. And I said, well, let me wait. Let me give it a little time. Let me give them until Tuesday, you know. And so I went on downtown, did a few items, a few things I had to pick up and everything, and found that people were lined up at Starbucks as if they were giving out iPhones or something. I'm like, what the world? And I really hate I missed taking a picture because I had a clear shot at one time. When I realized it, I'm like, oh, darn. Like, oh, well, they were around the corner. It was at least, I would say, ooh, it was about almost not quite 2 blocks, but they were lined up. I'm like, are they giving something away? And if they are, what the heck is it? Must be really good. But like I said, the dominant society was out spending their money. They had it like that, and the mayor, she definitely was happy. Get some funds flowing up in Chicago because we don't have many. Also, I did see more taxis out, so I'm like, okay. Probably, I guess the taxis that they did have, they were kind of north side and downtown Chicago is where you get your money. So I guess some of those from the north side of Chicago say, hey, let me go on downtown. Let me see if I can make me some money. These folks out here spending, so that's what we going to do. And I'm sure they did better than they could have, so good for them. Let's see. Also, in the YouTube streets, I had noticed that I've seen. I was wondering, was it a hashtag? Because I've been seeing winter is coming, and I'm like, winter. Well, what the hell happened to fall? You all forget fall? You just jumped over 100 days or so, 90 to 100 days over to just straight to winter. Then I found out what it was. It was like pretty much a scare tactic or shock value or whatever you want to call it. Because I'm like, my emails are saying that fall is coming. And I'm like, that's right. We're supposed to have leaves on the ground and folks raking stuff up and candy time for Halloween. I'm like, you all forgot about all of that? Fall is coming. And you just jumped over a whole season. But like I said, I realized what it was because I was looking. I'm like, is it a new hashtag? What's going on? What's happening? And then also, what's the other thing coming up? Let me see if I got that picture up. I think I do. Where is it? Is this it? And it is. Okay, so let me share this one because this is something to definitely talk about. School. The kids are going back to school. School is coming. Fall is coming. Right around the corner. Got to get those kids back in school because Chicago is not playing. They say, forget that at home learning. You bring your behind back to these classrooms. We've made them safe, so come on back in. But we all know how safe is safe with what we've been hearing about lately. So I don't know. They may end up trying to bring them back in, and then I'm going to have to take them right back out. Right back out. Oh, let me change my thing here. They made a little, what do you call that? Let me see. Change my ticker because I have started. I'm about starting it shortly. They changed the banner, the layout. It's kind of cool. I kind of like it, but I don't see at the bottom where you can just kind of quickly get out of it. But that's okay. We're here, all good in the hood. So, without further ado, I don't have all the intro music. We're going to save that for Saturday since I have the Friday dance. I'm like, it'll be a little bit extra, all the intros. So, but still, without further ado, you know what to do. You all give a round of applause to the lovely, the wonderful Classic Ruby, everybody. Classic Ruby.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am now a 37-year-old mature woman, so I don't need all of the fanfare. I am mature now. Good evening, Shar. How are you? I'm lying! I'm lying! I love the fanfare! Bring it back! I can't wait till Saturday! Oh!
Wow. You know, that is so interesting because I had mentioned, what was that? I was watching DeAndre's show. Actually, I was falling asleep because I was so tired Monday.
Mhm.
And this guy had got on the show and he was asking some questions. And I realized, I said, wait a minute. This guy been asking the same question for 5 years. And I realized, I'm like, I was in my 40s then. He's still asking the same question. I'm like, what is going on?
Ain't that something? Like,
So time is really moving. It is for you to
mhm.
say 37. I'm like, what?
I
Huh?
know. I know. Girl, when I got to this space, I was in my early 30s. Now I'm in my late 30s. And nothing's changed. Nothing. Same discussion, same arguments. I mean, damn. They just put different titles on them, but it's the same thing. I mean, think about it with this winter thing. First, I want to say, listen, if you get 100 days of fall, you live in a nice place. Because over here, we don't get no 100 days of fall. We get like 2 weeks. Like, get your affairs in order. Winter's coming. You got, 6 weeks of summer, about 2 weeks to get your snow tires on, get the snow suits out and stuff like that, and boom, it's 6 weeks, 6 months, 6.5 months or so of winter. So I kind of thought they were talking about Canadians. I thought maybe. I hoped it wasn't yet another thing. You're like, winter's coming, the coochie's in the mail, whatever. There's so many things constantly. I can't keep up with them. I don't even know what this one means. I honestly don't. It's I try, I do, but this one escapes me.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. I don't dig deep and spend a lot of time in listening to the content, but I'll do a scan to figure out what's going on. So I go to Twitter because that's always the where everything is trending, and I didn't see the
Mm,
hashtags. I'm like, what is this? And just found that it was in common with YouTube.
it's a YouTube, probably a manosphere term, because they come up with a lot of terms. I mean, you have to think about it. There's a lot of creativity in the manosphere. If they took half of the creativity that they use and just coming up with names and labels to basically pathologize women, they could probably make a pretty penny out there in the real world, right? Like, I mean, they're very creative. I've never heard so many random terminologies come up from any one group before. They are really good at that. Like, I wish I was that clever. I can't even come up with like a nickname for people, right? Like, I can't. If you don't tell me this is my nickname, I will just call you like your plain boring name. I just don't have that kind of creativity. I'm a little bit jealous. Oh,
Oh.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm gonna work on it. I'm 37 now, right? I'm a mature woman of wisdom. I should be able to do this. I'm gonna work on it, right? Like, let's try to be Don Teasy. Charcoal. No, see, I tried. It just didn't work.
It's okay. We will help. That's the main thing. That's what we're here for. To help
Thank
each
you.
other. This is supposed to be a YouTube community. That's what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be helpful, not a
Mhm.
hindrance, not against each other, even though we have seen a lot of that go on. But
Mhm.
that's what we're supposed to be. But at least
These are
we're over
teenagers.
that. We're doing that over here. I'll put it that way. We're doing our part.
Right, we're doing our part. Like, I wish some of them over there would do their part. Now, I'm not going to sit there and fully call it out or anything. I see it down there in the chat room where someone just pointed out when infighting goes too far, right? And when, like, there's need for supremeness and alpha dominance, and, everyone's got to be the leader and everyone's got to be the owner, and no one can work together. This is what happens. The infighting has gone too far now. And, it's not helping us get anywhere, which is why me and Shar are sitting there talking about how 5, 6, 7 years ago we were here and nothing's changed. Nobody's grown. And everyone who has grown has left because the space won't grow with them. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I can say that too. Yeah, that's true.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and Jackie, as far as what you're mentioning with trademark, I did hear about a magazine, and I thought Reg, the bad guy, was doing it since he, points out a lot of stuff that goes on. But disappointment, it wasn't him. Oh well, moving on. Well, we're gonna
Hey,
go. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, hey, listen, I'm not going to talk on that situation. I'm not. No one is pulling me into that mess. I'm just saying, anyone could have seen that coming from 10,000 miles away because there's too much infighting and not enough collectivism. This is what happens when rugged individualism goes too far. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. So let's do a Friday dance. Let's see. I think I'll do a different one from last week. Yeah, I'll
Hmm.
do that. So let's do a little Friday dance, everybody. Get in the mood. All right.
All right.
Look at her. We gon' start this thing around. Groove all in the middle of the night. Come on, come on. What you up to the chicken, baby? What you up to the chicken, baby? What you up to the chicken, baby? What you up to the living on my side. I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. I'm living my best
Woohoo!
Bro, imagine that was your kid. You'd be the proudest parent on planet Earth. Okay, you'd be showing everybody that. Look at my kid. My kid's gonna be the next Michael. Look at him.
Okay.
Hmm.
Be a
That was
proud
adorable.
mama.
Hmm. I'm a proud auntie. I don't even know him, right? Yes, that's right. It's one of ours.
Okay. That's
Hmm.
getting in the mood, everybody. Getting in the mood.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, for this video I'm going to show, this comes from paternity court, and the title is what the title is. I didn't change it because sometime I'll change it, but I'm like, well, shoot, he's the one that said being a father ruined his life. I said, so I'll just keep it as it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl, you know I love me some court TV. See, this is another birthday gift. Y'all might not understand that court TV is my jam. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right, let's do it. Okay.
All righty, so let me get the sharing on. All right, the volume. Do I have the volume on? Now you know, do the volume, girl. Let me see. Um, I don't know.
He kind of looks like fatherhood might have ruined his life, though. Like, he looks real beaten down. That's all I'm saying. He hasn't even said a word yet. Poor thing.
Yeah, he hasn't. I wish there was a way I know if the sound was on. Well, I'm
Okay,
gonna push
press
play
play.
and
Yeah,
let's find out.
I'll let you know.
All right.
Say that 41 years ago,
Yes.
you were falsely accused of fathering a little girl, and that accusation has ruined your life? cost you tens of thousands of dollars, steady employment, and your health. Today, you are here to prove the defendant is not your daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Jackson, you say Mr. Jackson is the only father you've ever known, and over the last 41 years, he has treated you like a second-class citizen. You say you have no doubt Mr. Jackson is your father, and you intend to prove it today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson, how has this accusation ruined your life?
Your Honor, it has definitely ruined me financially wise, health wise, mental wise. It's at the point where I can't get driver's license, I can't get passport, I used to couldn't keep a job. It ruined my heart, Your Honor, to where I have a pacemaker in me now.
The stress of it.
The stress of it, it ruined my heart.
How long have you been paying support, sir?
I've been paying support since I was maybe 30, Your Honor. I started working for a private contractor. For 18 years, Your Honor, I did not know that I owed child support. And I get a job with a paycheck. It's when I find out I owe child support. Already at that time, I'm 13,000 behind.
In arrears.
Vonda said the volume was low. Is that low for everyone? Some people?
Yeah, it is a bit low.
Oh, wow. Because I
I
have it
wrote it
all
in
the way
the
up.
I wrote it in the back chat, but I was like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I got it all the way up. Let me take it out and bring it back in, see if that would help.
all right. Like you can
'Cause-
hear it. It's just like it's much more quiet than we are. That's for sure.
wow.
Mm,
Because I really I have it all the way up.
all
So I'm going
right.
to try it again. Because there is nothing else I could do. Let me see. Let's try it again. Share.
Come on, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm hoping this will clear itself up. Because, shoot, the volume is nice on my end. Let's see.
Oh, that's the worst. Like what? That
Uh,
it's working fine over here. Yeah, no, not for us.
okay, I'm going to take it back a little bit. You let me know.
If you're
Take it.
sharing it, we don't see it.
Oh, that's right. I got to share it. I forgot the new darn thing. All right, there we
There
go.
we go.
Okay. I'm going to take it back a little bit. You let me know what you got.
The stress of it.
The stress of it, it
Much better.
ruined
Much
my
better.
heart.
How long have you been paying
Okay,
support?
so I'll just take it all the way back. I just had to take it in and out so that way everyone can hear it. Because you don't
Oh
want to
my
miss
God,
none because I'm going to hit on it. We all can hit on it, rather.
girl, like you should listen to the playback afterwards. It's like shockingly louder. It's so much better.
Okay.
Fathering a little girl, and that accusation has ruined your life, cost you tens of thousands of dollars, steady employment, and your health. Today, you are here to prove the defendant is not your daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Jackson, you say Mr. Jackson is the only father you've ever known, and over the last 41 years, he has treated you like a second-class citizen. You say you have no doubt Mr. Jackson is your father, and you intend to prove it today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson, how has this accusation ruined your life?
Your Honor, it has definitely ruined me financially wise, health wise, mental wise. It's at the point where I can't get driver's license, I can't get passport, I used to couldn't keep a job. It ruined my heart, Your Honor, to where I have a pacemaker in me now.
The stress of it.
The stress of it, it ruined my heart.
How long have you been paying support, sir?
I've been paying support since I was maybe 30, Your Honor. I started working for a private contractor. For 18 years, Your Honor, I did not know that I owed child support. And I get a job with a paycheck. It's when I find out I owe child support. Already at that time, I'm 13,000 behind.
In arrears.
Yes. So I could never catch up, Your Honor.
Because the penalties kept accruing. And
I'm-
now you're more than $25,000
Yes,
in
Your
debt.
Honor.
At 63 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jackson, you
Yes,
say you have
Your
no
Honor.
doubt this is your biological father.
I have no doubt that this is my biological father.
When were you made aware that he had these doubts?
I was always told by him as a young girl that he had doubts. He would basically just try to mention, things like, he didn't think that, he was the only man that my mom slept with. And
How old were you when he was saying this?
I was like 9 or 10 or 11 years old.
At 9 or 10, you were having to process that information?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson, did you tell her that young that you thought her mom may have slept with somebody else?
I did tell her I did. I had my doubts that her mom was young at that time and she was seeing more than one person.
So wait, you say you didn't find out you were on child support for 18 years,
Yes.
but you did have a relationship with Miss Jackson.
It wasn't,
Speaking of her mother or
it
her?
wasn't the kind of relationship that most daughters would have with their father.
What kind of relationship was it?
I considered him as a homie.
A homie?
Yeah, as a homeboy. And because of that, he never treated me as if I was really his daughter.
Wait, I need to understand that. What do you mean as a homeboy?
Well, because I was never really embraced by Mr. Jackson as his daughter. I was always feeling like I was just someone there who he had a relationship with my mom, that I was just there.
What was the nature of the relationship with Miss Jackson's mother?
At the time I was married
Oh, okay.
and I knew it was wrong, but I did it.
So what happened when she told you she was pregnant?
I told her it was not my child, Your Honor.
Did you say that because you didn't believe that was your child? Or did you say that because you knew you were married and you knew you were wrong?
At that time, I believed a little both, Your Honor.
Okay,
Bullshit.
that's honest. I want to know.
Yes.
So did your wife ever find out?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
And what happened then? Did it break up your family?
For a small period of time, it did, and we got back together.
Did you have visitation? Did you see her regularly?
For years, I really didn't know where they were, Your Honor.
That's not true. He knew where we were. Mr. Jackson, he chose to live the life that he chose to live. He knew where we were. We wasn't very far. I stayed in contact with his mother. I stayed in contact with my siblings.
How did you know as a child that he knew, Mr. Jackson, where you and your mother were?
Well, he's on my birth certificate first and foremost.
He is?
Yes, he's on my birth certificate.
Okay. Do you have that birth certificate here?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Jerome, can you hand me that? So, did you know you were on the birth certificate?
No,
did you
I didn't.
sign
I
it?
never signed nothing, Your Honor. My signature is not on there.
So this is the birth certificate for Quanisha Jackson,
That's me.
and listed under father is your name, Charles Jackson.
My name is actually Charlie Jackson Jr., Your Honor.
So
Her
you're
mother
saying-
called me Charles.
But your name, your legal name is Charlie.
Charlie Jackson Jr., Your Honor.
So you're saying the fact that Charles is written here is indicative of the fact that the mother gave the name and not you.
The mother gave Charles, Your Honor.
So what you're saying is that you didn't sign this. You didn't tell someone I
didn't
want my
sign
name
anything.
listed.
I did not know the day that she was born.
And so you're saying when she was born, you didn't even know.
Not the day she was born.
You
I did
never
not
went
know.
to doctor's appointments. You never did
I
any
never
of
went
that.
to none of that, Your Honor.
So Mr. Jackson, what other doubt do you have?
There was another man at the time that I was seeing her mom. I'm going to say just her mom was fast. That's the way I'm going to put it, Your Honor.
So you're going to say respectfully that you felt like her mom was promiscuous.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm putting a pin in it right there. Now, this is what's going on. He said 3 things what gave him doubt that it was his child. The first thing he said was the mother was young. He said that, not me. Number 2, he said she was known to see other guys. Okay. And then the third thing he said, the mother was fast. So those three things equate to giving you doubt that after you attempted to see this young woman and talk to her and get her laying down, and you take your penis out fully erected, you put it inside of her, you ejaculate, that had nothing, no bearings on the possibility that 9 months later this could be your daughter that you saw or was told about.
Girl.
That's the crazy part to me. I don't understand that. And I'm disappointed that a this man at this time is 63 years old saying this. And there's no accountability. And so last week was responsibility, today is
Mhm.
accountability this week.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Listen.
what is going on? And I want to mention something else. The young lady that's standing up here is 41 years old.
Mhm.
So at the time that he found out about the child support, he said 30. And so I'm thinking he was 22 years old when he laid with the mother.
Mhm.
So 22 is young. That's pretty young. You're a young man. And he was married, and that was, interesting, but it's not far fetched because back in the 80s, you did, love each other, get out of high school, and like, I love you too. And you get married and figured out you weren't, you know, really ready. But he was 22 years old. He slept with this woman that was young, he says. He says young. So, what is young? Between 16 and 20? So that was
Mhm.
young, but it didn't stop that erected penis. It didn't
Mhm.
stop from him to get on top or whatever position and ejaculate. It didn't stop him, even though she
Mhm.
was young and seen with other guys and fast, in his words. Didn't stop him.
Mhm.
Now, 22 years old, just thinking back, I think it probably been the 80s at that time. Okay, so having a responsibility as a husband because he said he was married. And I'm thinking, and it's just me guessing, that it was a lot of pressure being a young man and a husband and keeping
Mhm.
house. That's
Mhm.
tough because I remember being younger at that time and
Mhm.
I get my paycheck, I want to go buy me some clothes.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was layaway back then. Shoot, I want to put some stuff in the layaway. I need to get my layaway out. Hey, I got a Avon order. I got to get that out. I got my Mary Kay order because I graduated from
Yes.
Avon real fast and went to Mary Kay. I was
Mhm.
I was bougie as a 20-year-old. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you that now. So I had to get my Mary Kay. So
Mhm.
forget that light bill and that phone bill. I'm gonna pretend I paid it. But
Mhm.
when that darn and see they called you back then in the 80s, you would get mail, you would get your mail, but they did call you as well. So you got that red notice like, "Uh-oh, one more payment, double payment or whatever it was." And I'm thinking he had the pressure of that as a young man, and that might have, put a little pressure in his marriage.
Mhm.
And, because the woman, you got bills that's not paid, you can't really rest. You
Mhm.
just can't. So I could see she stepped away. I mean, she argued and he's like, "Come on, baby, give me some." She like, "What? You better go on somewhere else. I ain't giving you nothing. I ain't moist no more. The light's gonna be
Mhm.
cut off tomorrow. Shoot, you must go ahead." So Charlie went on up the street because I'm pretty sure he didn't go out his zip code. He went somewhere around the neighborhood that was
Mhm.
close by and said, "Hey, I like that little fast thing. Hey,
Mhm.
girl, what's going on? What's your name?" And
Mhm.
what happened is what happened. But these are, he's standing here next to this young lady, and this is how he described the mother. That's the other thing why I'm not understanding for this 63-year-old man to not take accountability and also to say these things, which is he's trying to put a damper on this woman's character. That's
Because
what
he's
he's doing.
lying. He's lying. Char, I've been biting my tongue for so long. It's so hard. He's lying. Listen, okay? Now, y'all, I haven't seen this episode, so I don't know. But I know he's lying, okay? The whole time he's talking, all I have in my head is that song, right? Why you always lying? Why you always lying? Ooh, oh my God. Stop the clucking lying. But he sounds like he's wholly lying. Shar, listen, I co-sign on a lot of what you said. He was a young man who got married young, even younger, to a woman, and he got married to a woman because she had lights in her eyes when she looked at him, and it just felt, amazing, and he felt like he could just accomplish anything. And then the real world hit, and she got pregnant, probably had a kid or two. The sex drive went down. You know, she's now demanding he step up and be a responsible man, not just a young boy who's in love. And that was a lot. And then he found another young woman who looked at him with stars in her eyes and believed every lie he said, and worshiped the ground he walked on. And he started a whole new relationship with that woman. Okay? That young lady. And then when that young lady got pregnant, then he went, oh my God, I'm gonna have to feed another person. This woman, she's probably gonna start making demands of me like my wife does. Oh God, now I'm gonna have two miserable women. So what did he do? He said, that ain't my baby. Like, but I thought you loved me. I thought you were gonna leave your wife for me. No, that ain't my baby. That ain't my baby. But I'm gonna keep my relationship with you. I'm gonna keep seeing you for over a decade. I'm gonna keep seeing you because that's what the girl said, right? That's what his alleged right now daughter says, right? Is he would come around to be with his mom and then just ignore her presence. So this is all denial and self lies. He's lying to himself so he can justify not taking care of this kid, not paying attention to this kid, not investing in this kid, because it's more responsibility and more, as you said, accountability when he can't handle the responsibility and accountability he already signed up for before. That's what it is. He's a whole damn lie. I don't believe nothing this man says about that woman. Nothing. I don't think she was fast. I don't think she was dating all kinds of men around the neighborhood. I think he knows he had that woman on lock. She would have done anything he said. And that's what he went for. Because if he wanted a woman who he had no control over, who didn't look at him like he's anyway, and blah, 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 we would be hearing a different story, in my opinion. So no, whole damn lie. Whole damn lie. Okay, I'm good. I gotta get that out. I gotta get that out. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to.
Well, I have the words. It's a little bit of what I said and a little bit of what you said, but
Mm-hmm.
it's coming from Mr. Cerulean Gray, and I like to share what he said and his way of saying it.
Mm.
Carrying on a viable relationship with a woman is not impossible. You see, and if you really look at it, some of y'all been put in the trick bag yourselves because and a lot of these young guys they fall into it because the way the story is always told is the way the ratchet bitch, the story of the ratchet bitch that these niggas keep coming up with, the ratchet bitch that did them wrong, that dirty ass mama that told them only her side of the story. Well, that's the fucking side of the story you getting. You getting that of the like of the one-sided derelict Negro male where he did no wrong. He did everything right. Everything was perfect. And so you sit up here and you let these men tell you that everything was perfect on their end. Well, as we know, as it stands, ain't no such thing as perfection. So how the fuck was you perfect and she wasn't? So at what point did you realize that the shit wasn't perfect? Was it when you were in the act of laying down and sticking your penis inside of her? Or was it the after effects whenever the baby came, you didn't want to take responsibility and become and abandon your responsibilities?
The latter.
Or was it that you wanted to do
Exactly.
you, but you didn't want her to be able to do herself? You wanted to have her on reserve while you go and do you, and in the moment that she did herself, oh, now she's the fucked up bitch because you did everything right. So at what point in time was you this perfect beacon of manhood and masculinity? You're not going to find it. That's why since the dawn of mankind, you've had this back and forth thing where why we have social contracts, because we understand there are things that cannot be prevented whenever it comes to interactions between men and women. Men, for the longest period of time, have been trying to figure out how to control this thing called the female wiles and woes. That's why you go back throughout history, women have never been able to choose the right mate, because the right mate is dependent on the fucking environment that she's living in. Whenever she needs defense, she needs a warrior. Whenever she needs her mental stability, well, she needs a lover, a listener, an artisan. That's why you see so many stories of these great men of renown, kings even, and then their wives go sleep off with the carpenter, go sleep with the sculptor, go sleep with the potter, the bread maker, the stable boy, or in modern times, the pool man.
Yeah, she had. I mean, he had what she needed at the time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's what happened. But that went a little bit further, but it was excellent commentary, and I wanted to play it. So there you go. Now.
As always, I think the thing that bothers me so much about this man, because you said it, he is now 63, 64 years old.
Yeah.
His daughter, and this is an important fact, guys, because I want y'all to understand that sometimes I side with the man, sometimes I side with the woman. It really depends on the different factors. No, I know for sure that this woman is not one of those women. She didn't sit there and poison her daughter against the man, and she's clearly a conniving, scheming type of personality and all of that because of what the daughter just said. Because she said, you know what? We don't have a daughter father bond. I'm like his homie, right?
Yeah.
And so basically what she's saying is, I'm allowing it to be that just so I can have time with him because I know he's my father. So because I know he's my father and I know he wants to deny that, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. So if he'll at least be my friend, then at least I get that time with him and he'll get that time with me. That's basically what she's saying. That doesn't come from a poisonous mind, okay? No poisonous woman raised that little girl for her to think that way. And even at 41 years old now, she's not mad, she's not bitter. She's listening to this man desecrate her mother and say all this foolishness. And she's just sitting there cool and calm. No, we're just more like homies. Like she said that so calmly. And
Yeah.
so that told me everything I needed to know as far as no, he's a man who ran away from accountability and responsibility because he was young and irresponsible. I'll give him that. He was young and
Mhm.
irresponsible. This was the 80s, as you said. So
Yeah.
that means a lot of responsibility was heaped on him with probably not a lot of modeling beforehand. He didn't know how to handle it. He didn't have a lot of healthy outlets and models around him to keep him sane. He had a lot of people running around out there on the streets and being pimps and whatever. And it seemed very stressful. And okay, fine. So I get all of that. I get why, as a young man, he wanted to have a girl look at him and see the world again and see that in her eyes. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But for him to still be doing this 41 years later, where he
Yes.
can't just stop and take accountability and responsibility, even if he's bought into his own lies at this point. He's, I'm not the father. I am definitely not the father. Uh, But you
Yeah.
were sleeping with the woman, right?
But she was young.
But she was young. Yeah, but you were sleeping with her raw,
But
right?
she was seen with other men.
But you were sleeping with her raw regularly, right?
But she was known as being fast.
But you were sleeping with her raw regularly right around the time that she said, "Hey, I'm pregnant, and you know you've been sleeping her with her, raw dogging her for the last 2 months.
But she was young. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Like,
I'm 63 and I'm sticking to it.
right. I have a lot more respect for men who come out here and say, listen, there's a possibility that the child isn't mine. I've always had these doubts nagging at me, or blah, blah, blah. He has done everything to just live in denial and lack
Hmm.
all accountability and just with no proof, no nothing, just heap. No, it has nothing to do with me. Child has nothing to do with me. I'm not accountable for this. I didn't do this. It's not me. Like, what? Ugh, ugh.
Incredible.
Hmm.
Welcome, Vonda. Would you like to add something before we continue?
Hey,
Hey,
girl, hey.
Shar. Hey, Ruby. Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Okay, just even with him beginning to speak, he just irritated me.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Hmm.
he's a grown man and she's a grown woman right now. And he really thought the best thing to do was to come on this live television show and say this ridiculous, I'm a victim, she was fast and I didn't know what I was doing type defense. It is ridiculous. He should have just gotten a paternity test, figured it out, and then took it from there instead of coming to court with this cockamamie story that, like, he's not even in the running to be the father. Like, it's just
Right.
no possible way he could be the dad.
Right.
He's laying down having raw sex with this young girl, and he's a married man, a whole entire married man.
Hmm.
But oh no, 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 no. I didn't find out until I was already all this much in arrears, and now I got high blood pressure and heart problems. Fool, stop it. That is not the child support. The child
Hmm.
support hurt so bad, but that sex was hella good, wasn't it? It was delicious.
Bone chicka
Right.
wow wow.
But he kept seeing the little girl, though. He kept seeing the mother and seeing the girl. I don't believe he didn't actually sign that birth certificate. I just think actually he fudged it. So I think he figured if he put like not his correct legal name on there, then it wouldn't default to him. They wouldn't be able to find him. So no harm, no foul. That's what I think really happened because he kept seeing the woman and he kept seeing this little girl, telling this little girl when she was all 7 years old, well, I think your mom's a hoe, so I don't think I'm the father. But he kept seeing them. So how are you going to turn around and say, well, it wasn't until like 10, 20 years later that I even knew I was on child support? You're trying to tell me you saw this woman on the regular, continued seeing her, continued seeing the girl, and no one mentioned it to you ever? Just never came up in conversation?
So
Come
he
on.
thought he was just gonna still be able to go back and keep tapping it, and
Hmm.
just walk past the little girl and go to the mama's room and just tap it a little bit, then go home. But hello,
Right, right.
Mister.
No, and no one said none. Now, to be fair, and I'm noticing there is a trend. So in the 70s, 80s, around that period of time, women were putting men on the birth certificate and not knowing they had nothing to do with the government going after the men for child support. So in many cases,
Hmm.
neither the woman or the man knew that child support court was coming after the man. They didn't know. They didn't apply for it. They weren't coming after the men for it. The government was coming after the men. And it was like this kind of almost like this little catch 22 scam. Now people are aware of it, right? Now people know that it's happening, but there is it I have heard that story a lot, to be fair, where it's like I didn't want child support from you, but I needed some help from the government. They didn't understand that because there's a name on the birth certificate that, oh, the government's going to help you, no problem. And then they're going to come after the father for it. No one explained that to them. They just said, yeah, sure, here's your free money, right? And then went after the father on their own and it had nothing to do with the mom. So, I think that there was like something shady going on with the system around that time too. So it's the one thing I'll give him a tiny bit of credit for. The only thing I'm willing to give to
Hell
this man.
no.
There's a chance he could not know because this isn't the only time I've heard the story, like from this generation of
Hell
people.
no.
Uh-oh.
No,
I'm
seriously.
sorry. I'm sorry. He was. It wasn't like they were both 16. That man was 22 years old.
Hmm.
He had enough wherewithal to ask someone to marry him, and then he decided to go outside of his marriage
Hmm.
and lay it low and spread it wide. And
Hmm.
now he has this huge lump sum of money that he owes for this child that he's sitting up here and right next to her, calling her mama a hoe,
Hmm.
saying, well, I don't think she's mine. And to be honest, I don't even know what the results of this, but I'm just looking at him and looking at her. She's a cuter version of him without the glasses and the gray hair.
I'm saying that's clearly his kid. I mean, like, there's no doubt about that. I'm not saying he's not a lying so and so who seriously lacks responsibility and accountability. I'm not saying that. But in regards to the child support portion of this discussion, because I've heard it so many times from such a large variety of people, including people who wanted to be the father or who were the father and didn't know that child support court was coming after them for
Yeah.
sometimes years or decades. Like, there was a lot of sneaky stuff going on in that era, and because it was a change, it was something new and it was a change. So it's not like you could have known from, brought up see, or, your father's, brother went through something like that or whatever, because it did change around that time. So that's the one piece of credit I'm willing to give him, is that it's possible he didn't know. My issue is, though, is I'm still positive that he knows that's his kid and he did nothing to help or support the child financially on his own,
Well,
right? Like, this is still your kid.
you know what?
So,
I've been nothing but a mother. I've never been a father. But my thing is that if I would think in my head,
Hmm.
if I were a man and I knew I was, letting my seed loose in this woman, and I continued to see her, and then there was a child that came about, and I knew I was not giving any support, it would, in the back of my mind, I'd wonder, okay, well, how's she supporting this child? I mean, I don't know if she's working, or this is, there's a possibility this is yours. I mean, figure it out and get it taken care of.
mhm.
And don't wait until the bill gets big and then like, oh my God, I didn't know. Nobody told me. I had no idea. There wasn't a clue left for me to figure it out. It's like, dude, stop.
No, because he knew. That's what I'm saying. There is no question of paternity. That's why he never asked for paternity tests, because he knows it's his kid. That's not the question, right? He just is from the old school belief, right? Like, Papa was a Rolling Stone. You could just go around and just impregnate all kinds of people, right? And like, there's no consequence to that. Like, if you're not married to the man, he's not responsible for your kids. Oh wow. And so he's from that mentality. So he just figured he'll put a little fast one with the birth certificate, and then he'll just deny the kid, and then it's just going to be fine. Like, he really thought that just patent denial would get him out of this one. He knows that's his kid. He didn't not pay or not be around or not claim the kid because he actually had real doubts. I honestly, in my heart and soul, do not believe that he really doubted that kid. I think he is full of it, and he just thought the denial would get him out of it. And I think he still, to some extent, feels like if he admits that he knows it's his kid, that he'll be responsible for the money. But if he keeps denying the kid, even if paternity court proves it's his, he still has like a legal argument. Well, I thought it wasn't mine, so I don't owe the money. Like, I really think he believes that. That's why he keeps doing it.
There's no legal argument for that.
No.
If you have raw sex, doesn't matter if she told you, didn't tell you, that you didn't find out until 40 years later. If the kid is yours, the kid is yours. The kid can't not be yours if the kid is yours. That's just the way
Mm-hmm.
the DNA of the whole thing works.
But she was
Um,
young.
So is he. What's sad though? If she
Uh-huh.
was young and irresponsible, right? What's your excuse? Because I'm guessing then that means you were older than her. So what
Yeah.
were you doing raw dogging some girl then who's
outside
young
your
and
marriage,
irresponsible? What are
outside of
you
your
doing
marriage, what was you doing
outside of
running
your
around
marriage?
with the neighborhood tramp? If that's what she was, and I'm just gonna, put that in quotation. If she was the neighborhood tramp, what was you doing running around with her without some protection?
Right.
Because
It,
right now he's the only one complaining. He's
mhm.
complaining. So if you got the biggest complaint, you got the biggest bill right now, I would think that you would have protected yourself more. This is a cautionary tale. If you don't
Yeah.
want to be stuck with the whole big old arrearage of child support, when you're 63 years old, don't be having willy-nilly sex out there. It doesn't pay off.
That's the thing. Like, with the guys that I do side with when I hear their stories, and I'm looking at it
Hmm.
and I'm like, bro, I feel you. I'm team you. I hope this ain't your baby, right? I still have to sit there and be like, why are you abandoning your sperm in that woman's womb? Why would you have ever done that to yourself? This doesn't make sense to me. Why would you endanger your whole future, your health, your well-being, because you're saying, well, this woman's such a hoe and she's at the neighborhood receptacle and blah blah blah, and then you're going to raw dog her. Like, what does that say about what you think about yourself and your future, about the quality of your life? Like,
Or
I
how
would
much he even
never.
cared about his wife. It's like, okay, she's the neighborhood tramp. What you bring back to your wife? Did you ever bring back some little visitors?
Right. Exactly. Well, no, he didn't, because the woman he was sleeping with is not actually a tramp, but
No,
I
that's what
think
I'm
people
saying. It's
do.
because
Yeah.
I'm being a little facetious, but it's like, come on, man. The
People did.
excuse the excuse that the woman is a hoe is not an excuse, because
No.
if she was a hoe then and you knew she was a hoe, you didn't protect yourself from the hoe.
Right. How dare you not protect yourself from a gold digging, money grubbing, de obsessed hoe? You're gonna
And and
raw
then
dog
on top
her
of that,
multiple times, come
she,
inside of her.
she's not going to even get the money. It's not like they're about to send her a check for this. This girl's 41 years old. That check is going to the state.
Hmm.
This woman's not getting anything. So it tells me he never gave her anything for this kid. She raised this kid without any financial support from him. So now he's got to pay them back, whoever them is.
Hmm.
Pay them
Government.
back.
Hmm. Yep.
All
That's it.
right. Well, let's continue to hear some more.
My mom told me that he has been the only man that she slept with, and that's how it has been throughout their relationship.
I am not a bad person. I have love in my heart for kids. I have taken care of kids that's not even mine, Your Honor.
But why did
I
he
have,
why he never treated me like a daughter since he has so much love in his heart? Why was I always treated like
Facts.
little trash off the street?
no.
Oh,
I've reached out to her at times and times, but she goes into a shell where she don't talk to nobody, she don't call nobody.
What about the time I asked Mr. Jackson when I was 9 or 10 years old? Him and my mother had came back together to live together, and we had ice cream trucks in the neighborhood. So one day I asked my Mr. Jackson if I could have 25 cents so that I could buy ice cream, and he told me he didn't have it. And I
Girl.
said, well, do you have 10 cents, 15 cents,
Juanisha.
a nickel? And he said that he didn't have either or. But I would see him go to the liquor store and buy alcohol or whatever he would, buy for himself. But he
Aw.
couldn't even give me 25 cents
That part is
to buy
not
an
true at
ice
all,
cream.
Your Honor.
no,
And
she was
that
making it up.
stuck with me all my
That it
life.
is.
And he has no idea the damage that has caused upon my mental capacity to deal with that and
Well,
to
you're
reason
here.
with that.
Tell him today.
That has caused some tremendous pain, some serious psychological issues in my life to the point to where I've had issues with choosing functional men. I can't choose functional men because I don't know what that looks like.
If I've done anything to hurt you when you were small, I apologize. But I wish you had to let me know way before now and told me. But at the same time, Your Honor, we wasn't around each other for years. Had, excuse, had I have known, it would have been a lot better than this.
Because you don't even remember the moment.
No, I
Oh,
don't,
And
Your
it
Honor.
has stayed with her for over 20 years.
Yes, Your Honor. I just
I can't help myself.
for
Now,
real.
how are you going to put the responsibility on the child
Oh
Right.
my God.
and ask? I wish you would have told me earlier. I would have, did
At
something
9 or 10
different.
years old, Daddy, do you know how you made me feel at 9 or 10 years old? She couldn't even, vocalize it herself.
Right, and think about it. She's 41 years old, and she's still
She still remembers that.
right. And you
Hmm.
can't help but to. The man is in your house with your mother. He was never
Hmm.
in the house like that because he lived. She said they lived together. He moved in with the mom.
Hmm.
Now that's the young, fast, get other men
Hmm.
around woman. You moved in with him. Where's the wife? I don't know. But you moved in with that woman and that homie child girl
Hmm.
that you said is not your daughter. And of course she's going to remember when she asked for some money for some ice cream, a quarter, and it was a quarter back then in the let me see if she was about 10. It was 70s? No, 80. Yeah, so it
Mm.
was about a quarter I think back then.
Hmm.
So she's asking for that, and she sees that he's going up the street to go get some Newports, a 40 ounce, and some, I don't know, some Red Hots. She remembers that.
Hmm.
And as a child, you always remember that. That's not going to be out your head. And she felt some kind of way. So, come on now.
Girl,
That's
I
what makes
remember
me
every
sad.
slight. Every slight. Listen, and I didn't have parents like this, and I still remember every slight my parents committed against me. Everyone. Everyone. Seriously. And it still hurts my feelings to this day. And I'm a big, mature 37-year-old girl. Listen, your childhood, especially when you have young parents, right? And
Hmm.
now the generation that started being raised with these teen, not quite prepared for life adults is now coming to be this age. So we've done the hard work on ourselves. We've gone to counseling and whatever. So we've worked through what our issues are. So now we can state where our issues are coming from, right? And I guess that's probably what's happened with this young lady, this woman as well. I'm gonna call her a young lady. She's older than me. But what's happened with this woman as well is that she's worked through all of this to realize
Hmm.
the kind of lasting damage it had. But it wasn't her responsibility to make either of her parents be parents. It wasn't her responsibility. And for him to try to put it on her, like, well, if you had found a way to impress upon me the importance of having a father in a young girl's life when you were 7 years old, I would have done better. You're the
Lord have
grown up.
mercy.
Listen, are you kidding me? By the time you are in your 20s, you know the importance and role a father has in a life or a mother has in a child's life. You know that. It wasn't on her to tell you. You damn well knew better. That's why you were sitting there and being a father to a whole bunch of kids that weren't yours, right?
That was interesting that he said that. I'm like, wow, where did that
Hmm.
come from? So I was wondering, like, so was his wife had some children,
Mm.
or did he go with another woman, or what's going on? But I don't know.
He was all over the place. Him and
Mm.
his penis was just all over the place.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
could
what it
be.
is.
Mm.
It's sad but true. And I my heart bleeds for the because I hate this kind of apology, the kind of person who gives this kind of apology. It's something Mama Rubes used to do in apologies. If I've ever done something to hurt you or offend you, I apologize for it. But, right? Now, first of all, how upsetting is that? That someone says, well, you explain to them what they did. You explain
Mhm.
how it hurts you, and then they go, well, if I ever did anything. It's almost like they're denying that they did the thing that you just explained in detail. But if I ever did do it, then I guess I apologize. But you have to understand my point of view. No, first of all, I don't have to understand anything about your point of view, right? But like, second of all, that's not a real apology. And so my
Mhm.
heart bleeds for this woman who's standing there and she's the adult in this situation. Okay, she's the grown up. She's the mature one. She's the one who is sitting there and doing what he should be doing. She should be allowed in this moment to be an angry child who's lashing out because her dad treated her like crap her whole life. But no, she's got to be the grown up while he gets to be the angry, petulant child. This is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Well, think about this. Imagine this. This little girl, her father, the man that she knows as her father, moves in with her mother, but he has more interest in her mother than he does in her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How sad
Right.
is that?
Right. This
She
That's
feels like
gross.
nothing, but he'd rather, like be with her mom. It's like if you were living with her, I mean, did you ever like go outside with her to ride her bike? I mean, did you ever sit down, have a little talk with her, watch TV shows? I mean, what type of relationship did you have with her?
Not much. Not much of
It
one.
was just all
Whatever
with
it
the
was, not
mom.
much.
It was all with the mom.
hmm
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Just seeing that and she says it right. Like he had a relationship with my mom, and then I was just there. I could be putting stuff with the furniture. Like you notice I'm there because you can't just walk through me, but like I'm not relevant or of significance. And the mother, I'm guessing the moving in with the mother thing happened
After
when
his
his
wife found
wife,
out and kicked
right,
him out, kicked his tail
ex-
out.
right. And then so you think, okay, well, maybe there's time to build a bond with him over time and whatever. But eventually the wife takes him back, right? And he just drops this family. You were just a runner-up, the consolation prize family. I don't actually want you guys. Deuces, and he's gone. And then denying her and just to her face telling her, "Well, no, I'm sorry, little girl. You're not actually my child because your mom's a hoe."
Mm,
Like,
mm,
what?
mm.
Who tells a 7-year-old that? Like, oh God, ugh,
Oh, Lord.
ugh. Yep.
All right, let's play some more.
Okay.
For 20 years.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember that.
So, Mr. Jackson, you don't believe she's your biological child. You
I,
just didn't believe it.
I
You
don't.
never knew for certain.
I don't, Your Honor.
And one of the things you talked about in your court papers is you believe there's a medical reason why. Because she did not have a certain trait
Of
or deal with
stuttering.
stuttering.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain that.
Most of my kids, all of them, as a matter of fact, when they get nervous or lying even, they'll stutter. She doesn't have that.
I want to learn more about this. The court has called upon an expert, Molly Dale. She's with the Chatterbox Speech and Language Clinic. Jerome, can you please escort Ms. Dale into the courtroom?
Your Honor, I've had issues with stuttering, but it's not severe. It's very mild, but I just psychologically choose to speak, in a way to where I won't have to stutter like that. But I've had issues with it before.
All right. Hello, Ms. Dale. We are here today, of course, attempting to help Ms. Jackson determine whether or not Mr. Jackson, a man she believes is her biological father, is in fact so. And during his testimony, he has talked about all of his children suffer from stuttering. Is stuttering an inherited trait?
Frequently it is, and there's a strong genetic component with stuttering. About 60% of people who stutter have family members that stutter as well.
And then she talked about, in her testimony just recently, having to deal with a slight level of stuttering. Is the severity or lack thereof any indicator?
No, you can have someone in a family who is severely, profoundly a stutterer, and then you can also have someone that is a mild stutterer as well.
Now that you've heard this testimony, does it further your belief that this is in fact your biological father, or does it affect it in any way?
I feel that he's my father based on a lot of different characteristics that, he and I show, like our eyes and our nose.
And Mr. Jackson, after hearing all of the testimony today, how do you feel?
I still don't believe I am her biological father.
All right. Mr. Jackson, you've brought a witness as well.
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
I'd like to hear from that witness. Jerome, can you please escort them into the courtroom?
What witness?
They're coming.
Hello, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is King David Gabriel Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, what relation are you to Mr. Jackson?
It's my stepdad.
This is your stepfather?
Yes.
And what testimony would you like to offer to this court today?
Well, as far as my dad, he's cool. And I know that growing up, it was hard for him to do what he wanted to do for us because he had no money. We still ate, we still had clothes and everything. And he never neglected none of us, none of his real biological kids or his stepkids. He treated us all the same.
Did he ever say, I may have another daughter, I have another daughter, and this is your sister?
Not really, no.
And so when you saw
I guess not.
Ms. Jackson, who did you think she was?
More like a friend.
So you don't believe your father, Mr. Jackson, would have denied Ms. Jackson if he truly felt she was his biological daughter?
No, he wouldn't have.
Because you are not, in fact, his biological child.
No, I'm not.
But he raised you as his own.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson, why is it that she did not receive the same level of acceptance
Thank you.
as your stepchildren did? Because she potentially could be your biological child.
No,
I feel like
did.
he
Yes,
should have
Your Honor.
gotten a DNA test a long time ago. From the time that Mr. Jackson and my mother conceived me, he has always felt that my mother slept with someone else and that it's a possibility I'm someone else's child.
Do you regret not having that DNA test, sir?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
What is that in your hand, Mr. Jackson?
This is In my hand, Your Honor, is a letter I wrote
May I see
I
that?
wrote to the court to try to get help.
So you sent this letter to the court in your home state?
Yes, Your Honor, I did. It was 3 years ago, Your Honor.
And the letter reads, I don't have any amount that I can offer for compromise because I only get $1,352 a month. Child support takes $448 a month from my income, and I am 60 years old. I did not know I owed child support for 18 years. I am able to get unemployment in which child support takes a good part of it. I really hope I can get this case a solution. I'm not trying to get free money or anything like that. It seems like I'm never going to be able to take care of this. Please help. Signed, Charlie Jackson Jr. So you basically wrote this plea to
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
court in your home state
Yes, Your Honor.
because you felt like you had no opportunity to resolve this and you didn't know what to do.
True, Your Honor.
All right. Well, fortunately, you have submitted to a DNA test as ordered by this courtroom, and I have the results for you. Jerome, the envelope, please.
Okay.
Watch.
You're welcome.
Watch,
In the
y'all.
case
I ain't
of
wrong.
Jackson Jr. versus Jackson, when it comes to 41-year-old Quanisha Jackson, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Jackson Jr., you are her father.
Boom. What I say.
Yeah.
What I say.
You didn't win nothing. It's sad.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
I love you very much, and I'm very sorry.
Really?
I hope from this day on, we can be a father and a daughter instead of your homeboy.
I've always knew that you were my dad, but I chose to be a friend to you so that I can help keep us connected some kind of way until you were ready to embrace me as your daughter.
Thank you, daughter.
You're welcome, and I do forgive you.
Thank you, daughter.
Better than me.
That's why this courtroom is so important, and this is what I witness day after day. People confronting the dysfunction, confronting the confusion, and deciding today is the day we get the truth. Ms. Jackson, I couldn't get the homeboy thing. I really couldn't. I couldn't process it. But I get it now so clearly that you wanted to make it comfortable for him because you just didn't want to disconnect from him because you knew that was your father. That is remarkable. Because I might have cursed you out, Mr. Jackson. I'm not going to lie. I might have went on head up with you one day. Because you ain't none of my homeboy. You and my daddy.
Yes, right.
And I want ice cream. Okay?
Yes, sure.
So now next time you hear ice cream truck, what you gonna do?
Run to it.
Right.
You take her and the grandkid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
What I
Yes.
say.
Wish you the best of luck. Court is adjourned. Mr. Jackson, you say that 41.
You see? I told y'all. Listen, I could see the lie all over. I could hear every ounce of lie dripping out of him. Lie, denial, lack of accountability, lack of responsibility in this man. You know why? I'll tell you. Listen,
Okay.
the stepson's like, oh, well, he took responsibility for me. You know why? Because you're attached to the woman he wants. That's it. Remember, people talk about this all the time, right? If there's a fire, if there's a house fire, who saves who, right? And I've heard men complain about this. Well, women will save the kids, but men will save the woman. No, that's how we're programmed to be. So the man cares about the kids that came out of the woman he wants. And he doesn't care if the kids are his or someone else's because they're attached to the woman he wants. And that's creating the family he wants. Okay, that's why he's willing to take care of all of her kids. If he only had one kid with that wife and she has 7 kids that aren't his, guess what? He is content to take care of all 7 of them kids and treat them all like they're his, right? But he could have 6 kids out on the road he knows for sure are his and he doesn't want them because they're not attached to a woman he wants. That's the end. Like this was not like a complicated case. He didn't want that woman. That was it. That woman was just filler because the woman he wanted was hormonal. Maybe she's pregnant at the time. Maybe she was just expecting too much from him at the time, like for him to step up and be a grown up. I don't know. But that was it. He just used the woman that he was with at the time, and then when it was going to attach to responsibility and to childbearing and having to raise something else, he went, nope, not mine, even though he knew damn well that was his kid. Knew it the whole time. Mm-mm.
Greetings, Rulian. How are you?
Ooh,
Well,
greetings,
greetings,
Logan.
esteemed nobles. How are we?
Great, great,
Greetings,
great. How are
greetings.
you?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a tragic story because if you ever wanted to know how social decline begins, you're looking at an example of it,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
right? And that denial, and it's the same for Mr. Charlie, right? It's just a crying shame. I mean, this dude really is only like 33 years old.
No.
His
Yeah.
daughter's eight. His daughter's actually 8 years older than him.
No.
I mean, look at this guy. See, the problem is the nigga didn't listen when I told him that bad bitches age are fast.
Mm.
Look at him, only 33 years old.
About
Uh-uh.
33 years old.
You
Yeah, but
know, hairline is almost as bad as Angry Man's YouTube career.
oh Lord.
Mm.
Oh, ooh, bird. Oh.
Mm-mm-mm.
He does look older than the average. Like, even for a mid-60s guy, I mean, he looks like I said. It's the first thing I said. As soon as you saw the picture, I said, "Go, that man does look like maybe this ruined his life." Like, he looks run down. Like, mid-60s man. Black men tend to age very
Man,
well.
that's
In their
what
Yeah.
mid-60s, they don't look this old.
that's what chasing bad bitches all your life do to you. You better look at Beyonce daddy. Beyonce daddy looked like he could also be Beyonce's mama's daddy. You can pull a picture up of Beyonce daddy.
Ruby, would you like to do the honors?
Oh, girl, I can't. I'm on my cell phone today.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Mm, Unfortunately, can't
Now,
share
just
nothing with a
imagine
cell
if this is
phone.
made into to some kind of a blockbuster hit in a world, right? One man chasing the object of his desires throughout all of his life, and one day he wakes up with amnesia, and he's 60 years old. Yeah, it'd be, I
Uh-uh.
think it would do better than Black Panther.
Uh-uh. Let me see what
Yeah,
I got
he'd be the
here.
Killmonger, right? So everyone loved Killmonger, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's sad only because all of those years that she felt rejected by this man who basically only wanted to sleep with her mother and have really nothing to do with her. And for her to even keep a connection with him because she didn't have the father daughter connection that, she yearned for, and she knew he was her father. She initiated like a friendship like with him to keep that open so that they wouldn't be as estranged. I mean, that is the child. She is still the child, even though she's a grown
Yeah,
woman. She's the child, and she was the one who was basically held responsible for keeping a relationship, with this man, who
Yeah.
raised his other wife's kids with absolutely no problem, but treated her like she was his side chick's child. Not his
Yeah.
child, but just his
yep.
side chick's child.
You
Even
know
the
the funniest
siblings, the
part about
siblings are like,
that?
"Oh, that's just a friend." Like, imagine your siblings like not even treating you like your family. Like, you ain't nothing. You're just some stranger off the
That's not
street.
even his.
Oh,
That's not even her sibling. That is
that's
that is
true.
just, it's not even her sibling.
Oh God, that's true. That man was taking more claim off her father than she could, and he's not related
But
to her. Oh,
the funniest part was when he said you brought a witness with you, and I'm like, who the fuck
mhm.
did he bring? A cameraman?
That's what I said. Who is the witness?
Yeah, that
What
was
witness? A witness for
interesting.
what?
Yeah,
But
because you see this a lot. What you see is a lot of men who go into the court and they're not trying the case at hand. They're trying a case about their character and proving that they're such great people and they're such great fathers and they would have taken care of this kid if only they thought the kid was really theirs. That's how they know for sure. Because look at the way I treated my wife's kids and look at the way I treated my nephew and look at the way I treated everyone except for this kid, right? Like that's what they do. And I've seen this before. So it just like it's gross because he didn't bring his biological children. He brought the step kid for a reason, right? Just like they're in the middle of talking about, their case, and what does he do? He pulls out a letter. This is a letter I wrote. This is a letter I wrote, right? And the letter is just about him imploring to not have to pay child support. That's it. That's what the letter was, y'all.
now,
Like,
now you see, now you see how vibrant he looks on the left,
Uh-huh.
and then you look at that current picture. He could be Beyonce mama daddy.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah. Mm, poor thing.
Shoot, Matthew's doing a bunch of dipping and stepping too. That make you old.
Hmm.
Stick with your wife.
Hmm.
I just don't get it. If you're gonna get married, like you don't have to get married. You don't, right? So if you're gonna get married, why are you going to then do this? Like,
Well,
seems like a stupid just process of decisions.
my question is now if the stepson knew about this girl, who in the hell did he think she was?
A
You said a
friend.
friend.
He said a
But
friend.
your daddy got 40-year-old friends that are young enough to be his daughter. I mean, that just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, because
Well,
you
to
have like
be
play cousins. You know what I mean? Because like you're
well,
someone,
well
one of
to
your
be
friends' kids,
fair,
like that.
I mean, if we're gonna be fair, he thought his dad was older than 33. Okay,
You so
Uh-uh.
so
extra. No, no, because I know exactly actually, and I know people who've had similar messed up scenarios within their family. And, they have a kid who comes around their house and they think it's just someone's friend's daughter, or it's just a play cousin, and they find out, no, that's a real cousin, or that's a real half sibling, or something, right? But like no one told them, right? Someone just told them, oh, that's your mama's friend's whatever. Meanwhile, no, that's a baby your mama gave up for adoption right before she had you, right? Like, but they don't tell you, right? They just
Hmm.
play these stupid games. So I kind of understand how, they could get away with, fooling the kids. I just think it's disgusting. Like when you think about what this 41-year-old woman, the kind of wisdom and maturity and composure and love and compassion and caring she has inside of her, that she did this. Like you have to think about what she did
Yeah.
while she's sitting there being rejected and
Hmm.
spit on, and her mom being spit on, and she knows what kind of mother she has, and she knows the household she was raised in. She knows her mom has never denied her father. Her mom doesn't go on like a hoe now, so she knows that's not in her mom's character. You know what I mean? Her mom's not, putting down this man, trying to foster a relationship between her and her father, because, fine, she made a mistake. She was sleeping with a married man. She was young and dumb. Okay, a kid came out of it. Okay, but this is what it is now. And this young girl, from the time she's 6, 7, 8 years old, being a homie, because at least then her father would be comfortable to be around her. Because as soon as she tried to make him into a father, he'd run.
Yeah.
That's what she was going through. Then she meets her siblings and she's super excited, and they're treating her like she's some random outsider's kid. Like, I guess you're visiting for the day, but like, don't touch my stuff. Right? Like,
Hmm.
and she's just dealing with all of this with grace. And then this piece of something something has the nerve when the results come out to be like, I'm sorry, I love you so much.
nah, forget all that. If you look just before them results came down, the zoom in on that nigga's face. That nigga was dreading those results because he knew that was his daughter the whole
He
time.
knew, yes.
He just saying that shit for the cameras in the court, like I'm so sorry. He didn't get to talking like he's straight out of Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so sorry. I don't know.
Right.
You sound
I
like
hate
a
when they do
runaway
that, when they
slave.
go, I love you so much. You spent 40 years denying her, but you love her so much. Like this is that it doesn't even seem even in the letter you wrote. You want to get teary for the first time in the whole court thing and hand in a letter. Maybe there's some emotion in it. Yeah, there is. Poor me, I have to pay child support. It ain't fair. I shouldn't have to pay no child support. I
No,
didn't even know about the child support.
but if
Don't
you
make me
really
pay child
examine it,
support.
but if you really examine it, right, and this is where you got to break down the action.
Okay.
He obviously did know that this was his daughter that he was denying. He knew he was
Mhm.
on the hook for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why else would you make an appeal to the court at all
Mm.
if you were content that that was not your daughter? Why would you even make an appeal to the court?
Because you still have to pay if it, even if it's not your daughter. So it would make sense. Like if it's not your kid and you know it's not your kid, but then child support's hitting you up for it and no one will help you with it because in most states there's like a period of time you can contest it and then that's it. It's just locked in stone, right?
Hmm.
No, no.
Um
What I'm saying is, you look at the way he wrote it.
mhm.
Oz is 60 years old. I only get $1,300 a month. He's not making a plea saying this is not my daughter. I shouldn't be responsible for her, right?
Oh yeah, no.
I need
He's
help
just
to
saying I
make this
shouldn't pay
debt
for
go
this.
away. He's like, I need
Mhm.
help basically to make this debt go away.
Right.
Please don't make me pay it because for 18 years I didn't know. So just erase it and we could start today.
Right.
That's what he
Yeah,
wants to do.
yeah, that's right.
You
Because
see,
yeah, he never said I don't owe it. This is not my kid. He said you're absolutely right. He said I didn't know about the child support until decades later, basically. Like,
so he knew
Not,
about the
he didn't.
child. He
Yeah, he
just
didn't
didn't know
mention
about the
that.
child support.
He didn't mention that he
mhm.
was still hunching on the mom for years after, you know.
Right.
But now that they done hit him with this big bill, they're like, you know what, we need to clear out our files. Oh, here's Mr. Willie. Let's go on and give him his little due diligence. And he's like,
Mhm.
oh no, I don't think I should have to pay this because I didn't know. Even though I was hunching on the mom, from time to time. I mean, she never mentioned to me, but I kind of thought that maybe, but I wasn't sure. But then again, I was thinking, and then I didn't know.
And she
All of these
was
if,
young.
ands, and buts. Cut
Don't
it
forget,
out.
she was young.
He said something that you would hear people that like say dodge their rent say. I didn't know that that I had an eviction notice.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Like,
play
nigga,
it.
you knew you didn't pay rent.
Exactly. You knew you weren't paying rent. What you think you
Right.
was gonna get?
I want
Did
to
you pay
play
the
where
rent?
he wrote the
Like,
letter.
oh lordy, lordy, I didn't know this eviction notice had been on the door for the last 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm someone
You
else's
know you paid the
child.
rent
Do you
though.
regret not having that DNA test, sir?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
What is that in your hand, Mr. Jackson?
This is in my hand, Your Honor, is a letter I wrote
May I see
I
that?
wrote to the court to try to get help.
So you sent this letter
This was 3 years ago.
to the
Mhm.
court in your home state.
Yes, Your Honor, I did. It was 3 years ago, Your Honor.
And the letter reads, I don't have any amount that I can offer for compromise because I only get $1,352 a month. Child support takes $448 a month from my income, and I am 60 years old. I did not know I owed child support for 18 years.
Right.
Okay.
Did not know I had a kid. Not been denying this kid. Not help me prove this isn't my kid. Nope. I just didn't know I owed the child support because you can definitely have bastard
Hmm.
children all over the place and not old
Talking
child
like a
support, right?
slave. Talking like a slave in the letter too. Oh lordy, Lord, I had no idea, Judge, that Your Honor, that I had this tremendous amount of child support debt for 18 years, Your Honor. Can you believe it?
Uh. Yeah.
No, I have a feeling. I mean, he's one of those people clearly who, doesn't have a firm grasp on literacy. So I think there's obviously that problem there, and someone probably should have helped him with writing the letter. But to begin with, again, the letter itself is just gross to me, and it's gross to me considering the fact that in this case, I do think, And it's just because I've heard so many different cases where even with people who don't deny the kid or are trying to prove that it's their kid when the woman's saying it's not. I've heard so many cases from this era of time of people who found out sometimes decades later that they're in back child support of however much because they didn't know. And the woman didn't know. She went to the government asking for help or whatever. They gave her help. She didn't apply for child support. She didn't apply to force something on the father. She didn't know, and the father doesn't know. And they sent the child support notice to like your mama's house, and your mama ain't even lived there in 10 years. Like they were doing stuff like that back then. So to an extent, like I kind of feel bad when I hear that one part of the story. I do feel bad because it was happening a lot to a lot of men where they were not getting the notices, the summons to court, right? The women weren't sitting there saying, I'm going to put you on child support. So they don't know. And then they find out oh, they're $50,000 in debt in back child support, but they've been taking care of their kids. In some of these cases, they were taking care of the kid. They didn't know that any of this was happening and you owe it. And there's nothing you can do about it. And they'll take your driver's license and they'll put you in jail and they'll do all kinds of stuff. And there's no one to fight about it because it's already
Well,
set in stone now. So I do think that is a problematic issue. Like, and they fixed it. Well, at least it's better than it was, 30,
Man,
40 years ago. But I mean, that
that
was pretty
Negro,
problematic.
that Negro sounded the same way a lot of these Negroes in the Manosphere sound. Oh, you must have been fucking somebody else. So
that's the
fuck
only
that
way she
kid.
can get pregnant. Not by your penis, but by another penis. Like, stop it.
Even though I've been hitting that penis, even though I've been hitting that backside for many a years. But
Yeah, don't count that part. Ain't that something? Yeah, I'm with you on that, Ruby. I hate to hear those child support stories because they are awful, and the
Hmm.
courts they do not keep they don't care. They
Nope.
not thinking about no refund. And a lot of times that they take the paternity test, they're like, well, this state says because you've been paying, you're gonna keep on paying.
Yep.
Because they
Yep.
did
Well,
that to what's his name, Neo. He I think the child was about 3 or 5 years old, and his mother had kept saying, "Please take the test. Please take the test." So he went on taking it, like, "Uh-oh." So because the state he was in, he had to pay. So they just settled whatever the amount they decided to settle, and that was
Hmm.
it. They don't
Yep.
care.
No, they don't. And like, so now it's like it's a big thing, right? Like, guys, if you really aren't sure if a kid is yours at the time of birth, I don't care if it's going to create an argument or confusion or whatever, demand the DNA test right then. They will offer to you inside of the hospital, get it right away. Don't sign the birth certificate first because as soon as your name hits the birth certificate, the government considers you the legal father, even if you're not the biological father. They're saying you are accepting that legal responsibility, even if you're not the
it's
father.
the
but
declaration
not
of
only
paternity. If you are
Yeah,
not the father, you don't sign that
don't
declaration of
sign that.
paternity unless you have a paternity test. That is protection for yourself. And
Right.
if you have someone saying, oh, this is your baby, and you're like, oh, no, I don't think it's mine, get a paternity test. Because once your name goes down on those documents and she's receiving benefits, um, you're going to be on the hook for it. You would be on the hook for it. There's nothing in life that's free. And this is something that we're told from the time we're kids through our whole life. Nothing in life is free. So all that good, free, good, loving sex you was getting, it did produce a child. Now you have to pay. Somewhere
Yep.
along the line, there has to be a balance. For many, many years, this woman took care of this child. She raised this child. She reared this child. She did everything for this child. And now on this end, you have a financial responsibility that you have to take care of. It has to
Hmm.
be rectified. You're not giving the
but
money to her.
not
Right.
only that, right? Like you do realize that there's probably a bunch of brothers in his state or city that got raked over the coals for real.
Hmm.
Not because of any other reason other than the fact that they had the ability to pay and they were willing. Because that's
Yep.
what happens with child support. It's kind of like mortgages and property values. It's in relation to other baby daddies in your vicinity.
Yeah.
So if you're the dude that's sitting there denying it, ooh, the court gonna go so much more harder on the motherfucker that's actually fighting for his kid and actually wants to take care of it. He's like, huh. Well, we've had about 50 people dodge the courts. Let's go ahead and stiff it to them. Try to recoup as
Mhm.
much money as we can.
Oh yeah.
And that was
And
all thanks to this piece of shit.
right. That was really the father. And like another thing that is which guys don't seem to know and understand is they think that if they just run away from the responsibility, they don't sign the birth certificate, they don't show up at the hospital, they don't see the kid, they don't accept that responsibility, well, now they're free and clear. But they're not, and they fail to understand this. And I've seen this so much in more recent cases now with the same kind of denial and running away kind of mentality. They don't sign nothing, they don't put their name nowhere, they don't show up nowhere. And so when the woman goes to the government for any kind of help, then the government goes, well, who's the father? Because you can't get assistance without fully naming the father. So then they name the father and they send a document to the father saying, you need to show up in court. Now, what these guys do instead of showing up in court and demanding a paternity test right then is they ignore it. They
They
go, well,
throw it
I'm
in the
at work.
trash. They hide
Right,
it from their wives and
Mm.
girlfriends. They pretend like
right.
it doesn't exist. And
And
then
they
when they
think,
go to they go to file their taxes, and their taxes says, "Oh no, we done took everything." Like what?
right.
What happened? I didn't do it.
Mhm.
No.
Right, because they think if they just deny it, it goes away. And they don't understand that no, you're only shot at not being the father who has to now pay child support is you showing up in court, doing the DNA test and proving it's not your kid. Now you've been named, there's nothing you can do but show up. If you don't show up, they will just make you the legal father in absentia. They don't need your presence there for them to put you on the document. You not showing up proves that you have nothing to fight. That's the way that they're seeing it. So this whole running away and wanting to dodge accountability and responsibility thing, it's not going to work with the system as it's set up. So you have to show up and be invested. You stuck your dick in her. You were raw when you did it. You came inside of her. I don't care if she's a hoe. I don't care about all the other things you have to say about it.
It has
You have
nothing
to
to
take
do with that.
accountability for what you did. And that involves you showing up. I'm not saying you have to pay for this kid for 18 years because you slept with the hoe. What I'm saying is you need to show up and go get the DNA test. You
But
have
I
to.
think a lot of them will not get the DNA test because they don't want it to prove that the kid is theirs. They really know the kid is theirs. And then you're going to be actually exactly on the hook at that very time.
You
Not
saw the
18 years
nigga
later when
face.
you're 63 years old and they sending you this big old bill.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw
Yeah.
you saw you saw the nigga face when she was reading off the results. That
Hmm.
nigga was dreading
He
that
was shaking,
DNA test.
sweating about the forehead and everything.
But see,
Man,
but a
that
lot of
nigga's
people.
forehead had looked like somebody dumped a bucket of water on him.
Oh yeah, no, he knew for sure 1,000. I said it from almost like the very first pause. I said, no, he's lying. He knows this was his kid. But what a lot of people don't realize is like the average child support payment currently is $242 a month. It's not no thousands of dollars a month. It's not hack your check like people feel like it is, right? But again, the reason why these like ridiculous amounts are awarded to the mother is because men don't show up in court.
And
They
when
run
you
from it.
look,
And then
Ruby,
the woman
I
gets
don't
whatever
know
she
how it
asked
is.
for.
Ruby, I have to tell you this. I don't know how it is in Canada, but here in America, baby, when you're 60 years old with a Walmart check, any dollar amount feel like half.
Okay,
Okay,
which is fair, but if you show up in court, see, the average is 242. That means you could get significantly lower or significantly higher, right? This is the balance. So if you show up in court with your stuff together and you prove this is how much I make, here's what my like what I have to pay for, here's all the other kids I have to pay for. So this is the honestly the only amount I can pay per week or per month. They will actually grant you that. But what happens is people don't go to court and fight it. They don't go and show up in court, right? Like my best friend, right? After she found out basically the father of her child has created like 7 or 8 kids. She knew of two, and then she was pregnant. She found out about three more, and then he created some while she was pregnant. This is her boyfriend of 6 years. Um, and then he just wouldn't show up for this kid. He was in the NICU for 4 or 5 months. And then afterwards just wouldn't show up for this kid. Would only show up if he thought maybe he could sleep with her. And so she said, okay. They all the mothers talked, and they said, okay. you know what? Let's start bringing him to court. So she brought him to
But see,
court.
but
And
see, you
hold
notice,
on. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. So she goes to court. He showed up for the very first court case and never showed up for the rest of them. So the judge turned around at the third time they had to show up and went, "What are you asking for?" She said $1,000 a month. He goes, "Okay, so $1,000 a month, retroactive to birth until 18, done." That was it. He could have gotten that significantly lower, but he didn't show up. So now he owes $1,000 a month for this kid for the rest of his life. He can never get another legal job. Never. He can never get an over the table job, or he will have no money because he didn't show up to court. So that's what I'm saying. You need to show up.
but see, you could tell he was lying to his teeth because his eyes was buck open the whole time. Like in every still shot, that nigga's eyes was buck. He had the same eyes that Matthew Knowles got. Like if you pull up that picture of Matthew Knowles again, that nigga's eyes is buck like that too. You know why his eyes is buck like that? Nigga look like he just got caught in the act of cheating. Like, oh shit, oh. Eyes was just buck wide open. That ain't my baby, y'all. I never thought it was mine. And so this is the delusion of it all. He wants the court to decide based on his delusion, which is this denial, right? I want you to judge based on the fact that I didn't know. The judge is like, well, ignorance is no excuse for the law.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I am not laughing at him.
Char's
I'm laughing
rolling.
at Cerulli.
Char's just rolling.
This made me too tickled. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, his eyes was buck. His eyes was buck wide open.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, it was obvious, right? Like, jokes aside, I said it from the very beginning. Try to approach this like, with no, I wasn't even approaching with that. I just started with the "Why the heck you lying" song. And no, he's a whole damn lie. It was so obvious.
Had the same look on his face right before he saw a hot pot of grits.
Oh Lord. And he could have made his life easier too if
he saw the grits coming. Like, oh, eyes buck wide open. I knew he was lying. What?
And just think, he still owes this money. 63. He'll be about 80 or
No, he's
90
never paying that
years
off.
old.
Nope. He's going to die in debt to child support court. Okay, let's be real. He's never paying that off.
Because he got started late. He should have got started when he was 22. Okay, not when he was 63.
Right. Like,
if he had done it when he was supposed to, he'd be done with it by now. And him and
how
his have a great
y'all know
relationship.
how much he owes?
How would he have started? How would he have been able to start at 22? At 22, see, y'all don't know male biology, right? Reckless 22-year-old broke dick, right? That irresponsibly broke dick. Why do you think he got married so young? He ain't had no money, but the chick he married did.
That's possible.
If he only come on now, how you gonna afford all the damn stepkids and you only making $1,300 a month?
I did think about that. I'm like, where do these kids come from? And from who?
Does anyone know how much he actually owed in back child support? Anyone remember that number?
Let's see. Was it 13 or 25? Let's roll it back.
That's 70 cents a day.
Yeah, I want to calculate how much it is a month. That's why I want to know. Yeah.
Let me go.
I want to know what the
a
default
day.
amount was.
What you do is you take 70 cents a day, you multiply that by 30, and then you multiply that number by 12, and then you multiply that number by 18. That's how much he owes.
Okay, I'm rolling back. Let's see.
All right.
What happened when she told you she was pregnant?
I told her it was not my child, Your Honor.
Did you say that because of family?
See, look at his face.
A small
Look at this
period
dude's
of
face.
time,
Pause
it
it
did,
right there.
and we
His
got
eyes
back
buck
together.
wide open. Matter of fact, you know what? We being punked. You know who that is?
Who
You
is
do
that?
know that's Tyler Perry when he played the old man in the Medea movies.
Uh-uh.
It does look like that
That's the
guy.
old
It
man.
It does.
does.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the
Walking
same
We
thing.
being punked.
with a short
Uh-uh.
That's
fro.
that ain't nobody but Tyler Perry.
Stop it.
Did you have visitation? Did you see her regularly?
For years, I really didn't know where they was, Your Honor.
That's not true. He knew where we were. Mr. Jackson.
And I get a job with a paycheck.
And,
It's
and
when I
listen, and pause
find
it real
out I
quick.
owe child.
You could tell he lied. 60 years old, and by the way he talking, he's still reading at a third grade level.
He had it rough. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It don't, look at the next position. His eyes are still buck. Like he ain't even been able to blink. Like he got duct tape on his eyelids. Just
He's
Yeah.
still in shock. He's still in shock.
Support. Already at that time, I'm 13,000 behind.
In arrears.
Yes.
13.
So
Listen to me.
I could
13,
never
I'm
catch
all
up,
the
Your
way
Honor.
up. 13,000. 13,000
13,000 in arrears. Hold on,
is
13,000 in
thousands.
arrears? And how long was that? How
Okay.
many, how old was the little girl? Did he say that? Sorry.
I know he was 30 years old when we
Now
found out, but
let's
I
do
don't.
some. Let's do some math, right? I'm gonna pull out the calculator.
Okay.
We're gonna go 13,000
That's what I'm doing too. And he
divided by
was,
18.
no, it wasn't 18. That's what I'm saying. How old was the girl at the time that he found out?
She had to be about 8, but I'll play it. Make sure.
Okay.
Because the
Divided by
penalties
12.
kept accruing.
Uh,
And
I'm-
now you're more than $25,000
Yes,
in
Your
debt.
Honor.
Okay.
See, fool, you should have paid then.
Let's say 20, let's say 26,000 to be fair. So 26,000 divided by 18 divided by 12. That's $120 a month.
But he's paying
And what's
$120 a
120
month.
$120 a month? So basically $4 a day is what
Mm-hmm.
they was gonna charge you.
Right. To raise a child.
If $4 a day,
Yep.
a nigga use $4 or more in toilet paper a day.
Mm-hmm. And that was overestimating because he's only over 25,000. I did that based on 26,000, and I'm sure that includes a whole bunch of interest and whatever. So if he had just paid his little $100 a month, his little $25 a week for a kid he knew was his, but no, now he owes $25,000 all at once. Yes, now it's huge. But he had money for the liquor store. He had money for a whole bunch of other extraneous things in his life. So he had $25 a week. Let's not talk about this man like he was dead ass broke. He had the money to pay it. He just
He had
didn't want it.
stepchildren. How were they getting along? Was he taking care of that wife or was she supporting him? I mean, this fool went on to, have children and raise stepchildren, but left this little one out in the cold, because he didn't really feel for her mom, like he felt for the other mom.
Listen to the way this guy talks. You know this is MOT Daddy, right?
No.
Lord,
He
have
even got the same suit on.
He does kind of look like MOT too, though. I
Where's
would
that
say
hat at?
sounds like they do look the same a little bit. Sorry, MOT, but y'all, you look like this man. That's why he couldn't bring his biological kid on. No, don't curse me. MOT, I'm just joking.
So basically, the state was about to charge him toilet paper to raise a kid. Like diapers are more expensive than that.
That's what I'm saying. Like y'all have to and I'm saying $120 a month. But again, there's interest on that and blah 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 and whatever that's built up over time. So because the girl's 41 now, he has to stop paying child support when she's 18. So he's now what, 10, 13 years overdue? 23 years.
Understand? He was
23 years
22
overdue.
He was 22 years old, working at McDonald's. Any amount of money seemed like a lot of money, like seemed like half your check. when you're working for
Oh,
McDonald's at minimum wage at
you
22.
said
And when he was,
1,300. You
and
making
mind you, when he was
1,300.
22, mind you, when he was 22,
It was in the 80s and
minimum wage was like $3.
3.35 an
Three
hour.
thirty-five.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those days.
That
Yep.
nigga couldn't afford
Listen, I'm gonna say something
couldn't
about
afford
this
60
now.
couldn't afford $60 a month when you get three
Hey,
thirty five an hour.
but then he could have went to court and got that amount brought down. Here's my thing, okay?
That nigga like
Christine,
shit. That's 20 hours of work you got to do to pay month worth of child support.
no, well then you don't stick your dick unprotected into a bunch of random chicks other than your wife. This is Christine Aaronport. She does this whole Love and Sex Around the World series, right? And so she did it in Africa. And so people were talking about the whole multiple wives, or like where you have one wife but you also have a mistress and several girlfriends and whatever. And here's the thing: men who are broke have a wife, and that's all they sleep with. The men who have mistresses and girlfriends have a lot of money, and you can only have as many mistresses and girlfriends and wives as you can
And you can
afford.
afford. Right.
So if you can't afford to carry on two separate families, then you don't get to be running around there sticking your dick into everything all willy-nilly. I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for you. You knew you were broke when you decided to go step out there and go impregnate someone else when you have a wife with kids at home. You knew
See,
this.
here's the thing, Ruby, is that that dynamic very well may be true in a place like India.
Hmm.
That shit ain't true for America.
Yeah,
It
everybody's
needs to
six
be. That's
figures
my
too.
point. Because
So
Americans are using places like Africa and India and whatever as their reference point. Well, men do it over there. It's been everywhere. Yeah, but they also follow the rule that if they can't afford it, they don't do it. Because they understand that if they stick their dick into this random mistress and that random mistress gets pregnant,
But
guess
at the
what?
same
It's their
time,
problem.
but I have to be fair. At the same time, there's still a thing over in India called honor killing. So yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and your dick just very well may earn you a stoning to death. You know.
That's true. But in Africa, there's not. And women are vying to be a mistress over a girlfriend. Like there's different levels to this, right? Like so like here there's just a bunch of side chicks, they're all on the same level. Like no, they're like underneath the wife, there's a mistress and then there's a girlfriend. And so you want to be at least a mistress if you're not a wife. And the wife understands that her rich husband has a mistress and two girlfriends. As long as he can financially and physically take care of his family first. She doesn't care what he does. That's their culture. But again, my point simply still remains that if you can't afford to have 17 babies out there by five different women, then you can't afford to be barebacking five different women. You can't. Sorry. And I don't feel sorry for you if you get caught up in that. You now you have to work three different jobs and you only have to sleep 3 hours a day because you know what? You knew you couldn't afford the first kid. You knew you couldn't afford this.
But see,
Why? Why are you creating
I'll
more?
be fair. I'll be fair. You guys said he was 22, and see
Mm-hmm.
when you're 22, right? You still coming out of that phase. This guy obviously had parents in his life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's coming out of that phase at 22 where he's been put out the house. He's a grown man, and everything still grows on trees, including pussy. There's no consequences.
Everything still grows on trees.
Oh yeah, when they little and then they grow up and it gets into it, it's hard to wean them out of that phase. Nothing weans you out of that phase like being homeless or the threat thereof.
But like Cerulean, I mean, it seems to me like part of his major issue was the fact that reality was already striking within his marriage, where he was realizing like, oh, it's not all fun and games after all. When I take on this responsibility, now I got kids and whatever, it's not fun anymore. So why
This is
would
what
she
happened.
go
I'll
and risk
narrate this.
more?
I'll narrate this guy's life. Right. This is basically what happened. He
Okay.
was broke, working at McDonald's, minimum wage. Right. Was 22, getting put out the motherfucking house. Gets married real young because the girl had a place of her own. Right. Had more money
Mhm.
than he did, and kept him in that everything grows on trees phase until one day fucked up. He got put out the house. Go, strolling down the street and slipped on a banana peel uh, into that other situation
Hmm.
And while he was in that other situation, bam, got the chick pregnant. To I don't realizing I can't have another kid because this bitch over here gonna kill me. If she find out, so of course I gotta deny. And say that baby ain't mine. That bitch been saying that baby mine for 20 years. You see, that whole thing is what was happening.
Yeah, but
Wow.
Cerulean, you're missing the part of the story where he continued having the affair 4 decades afterwards, and at one point was even living with the woman. Was even living with the woman who is the mother of his child. He was living with his child that he
Right,
was
because she
actively
was,
denying.
well, she said she's about 9 or 10,
Hmm.
and he was living with them.
Hmm.
So that now
Right.
he's 30, or 32, somewhere in there, between 30 and
Hmm.
32.
Right. Right. So think about that now. So he denies this kid, pretends this never happened for a decade. And to be fair, the young woman who he had this child with doesn't clearly make life hard for him because if she had, the wife would have found out way before 10 years had passed. Right. So she's obviously not some ratchet hood rat, I'm going to make noise and embarrass this man type of woman. Now,
No, but
the wife finds out.
I'll
Mhm.
tell you this: the way his daughter mama kept the secret. That's the bitch he should have been marrying. The way she
That's what
knows
I'm
how to shut
saying.
the fuck up for 40 years.
I'm saying that's why I don't believe anything he ever said about that woman because of A, the way she comported herself in the situation, but also because of the character the daughter has. Because again, some ancient ratchet chick is not going to raise a young woman who has the kind of morals and ideals that this woman had, right? The daughter has. And so now you do
Hmm.
all of that, and then you get caught and you go, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go live with this woman since I'm still having an affair with her anyway. And I mean, she's got my kid, so I might as well go live with her while you still are actively denying this child. And then when your wife is going to take you back, you just drop them again, but you keep sleep. It seems like he kept sleeping with this woman. Like this was a saving all my love for you by Whitney Houston situation. This
Oh
woman
Lord.
just stayed in love with this no count married man all this time and just hoped maybe one day it would be her turn. And it never was, obviously.
Mm.
Oh yeah, she was the cleanup woman.
Hmm.
Well, I want to stop and give
Unfortunately.
a shout out to Vonda. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and you have made Sheed sing. So Sheed, hit it.
Yeah, I know she pops his head in and stuff. I wonder if he's ever been here to hear himself, to know that you really followed through on this.
He should by now.
Love it. I want to see his reaction one day. Be like, oh, damn, that is me.
Yeah, he heard it because he watched the replays. He always comment
Mm,
under the video. We got to get him to do it
mm.
live though.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, that would be great.
think about it. This guy, 60 some years old. He really 30, he like 33. But that's what happens when you chase bad bitches all your life. That he
Mm-mm.
dropped his biological kid for
Mm.
matter of fact, you know what? I just thought about it. You're looking at a snapshot of a very popular YouTuber's life.
Oh boy. Let me see. Had a child,
You
denied it.
might know him. He's about yay high. Has a tendency to wear fitted caps. He takes it off. He ages about 40 years.
Oh Lord.
He
Mm-mm.
just recently got a paste on beard.
Oh
Oh,
Lord.
dry. Paste on even.
Mm-mm.
Hey, when you right, you right.
You're looking
Mm-hmm.
at that snapshot. I ain't think about it. Got married young, had a
Mm-hmm.
baby with another chick, came
Yeah.
back to one, raised the step kid better than he raised his own kid. Raised the step kid so well that the step kid puts him out of the house. You know what? This shit It's it's a
Mm-mm-mm.
mess.
Yeah.
And every single day he goes live and he cries about that same reality in a more broader way, right? Because there's only so many ways you can say these women ain't shit. But speaking of the women that you only dealt with in your life,
Mm.
she just keeps on kicking them in and out of the high. You know
Keep
what? Never mind.
on kicking.
You know what?
Well, but I like how we like to pretend, right? I mean, and I say we because there's a generalized issue with extremist views, whether it's coming from the women or from the men, right? Like where we like to acknowledge the impact that all of this foolishness had on our side and why we behave the way we do, but like we pretend like the other side is totally unaffected by this broken, dysfunctional structure and culture that so many were raised under, and all this broken modeling that we were presented with. And then we just expect people to magically turn 18, 19, and boom, they're just different. There's just this magical thing that they either turn on or off in their brains. Like they could just choose to be functional and understand how to be functional, productive members of society and wives and husbands and stuff. They just choose not to. Like, no, it's because, I mean, again, that credit to that woman's mother, that she must be an amazing woman, that this that her daughter turned out the way that she did at all, because this is where you get all of that bitterness, right, all of that anger, all of that lacking accountability yourself, because you know what, when everyone around you lacks accountability, the people who are raising you lack accountability and responsibility, and it's all falling on you at way too young of an age, then you're almost taught that like children have to take responsibility and accountability for all the adults in their lives. And then when you become an adult, you're no longer responsible or accountable for anything. We don't care about the impact that we're having on children. Like, and I understand it on one level because I'm like, you know what? A lot of these people who are running around with all this bullshit rhetoric, right, are these broken, hurt children who have grown up, right? And I get that part of it. But it's like on the other side, I'm like, you can make a choice to literally do just the opposite. You're not really sure how to be a good mother. You don't know how to be a good father, but you know for sure that what was done to you isn't it. So do something else, right? And definitely focusing only on yourself and how everything impacts you and poor you and what was you and I shouldn't have to pay child support and here's a letter I wrote to the court and who cares about the impact that anything I say or do has on this
Let me
kid
show you this
of
letter,
mine?
Judge.
Who cares, right?
Let me go
That's a
ahead and show
huge
you this
power out
letter,
of the
Judge.
blue.
I hope you, as a judge, have some sympathy on me now. I'm not going to deny the kid, but I am denying that I should have to pay this much,
Hmm.
which
Mm-mm.
equates to basically $60 a month.
Right? Come on. Enough. Enough.
Well, he comes from the era of you have to pay to play, and he played with her mom, so you have to pay. It produced a child. You don't get a free pass because you didn't know.
But see, he's old enough in that age range. We talk about, uh, what, how the black community got so fucked up. You're looking at it. Look at this nigga.
Hmm.
You're looking at it.
That's
Well,
sad. Let me go ahead and shout out L Nixon for supporting the channel. He wants to hear Sheed sing, so here goes. Hit it, Sheed. All right. Now,
hmm
now go ahead, Ruby.
yeah, no, it just it comes down to another issue that we seem to have, and I understand the issue as well, right? Like we don't trust any system, so we definitely don't trust the legal system. We're very unfamiliar with it. We don't understand the financial institutions. We're unfamiliar with them. So like we honestly think we are in a way like helpless victims to everything that just happens to us. Like we don't actually have a complete understanding that yes, if the court is taking over 50% of your check for child support, that there is something you can do. You can go into court, you can bring all of your financial statements and all of whatever, and you can actually have that amount renegotiated. So that way, not so you're not paying it, you still owe the full amount, right? But maybe that you're paying less, right? People do the same thing with their mortgages and stuff like that. Like you can do this, but it's just like we just are helpless victims to everything. We don't understand that things are negotiable. So we run away from them. We hide from them. We let the problems get so much bigger than they have to be if we had just dealt with the problem at the time. Yes, dude, you are wrong. You were married probably for not that long. You made a baby out of wedlock. You know, this woman wanted to marry you because you didn't have no kids. She didn't have no kids. You guys were going to make a family together, whatever it is. And then you messed up. But if he had
I
just
mean,
owned
but
that problem 41
no,
years ago, he would be in a much better position today.
no, but we're talking about a deeper societal issue,
Hmm.
right? And he's in that age range where you hear these dudes crying about who fucked up the community. This dude's 63 years old. He's a part of what was fucking the community up.
Yeah,
Mm.
straight facts.
Now, now, mind you, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a Pookie or Ray Ray, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's an educated lame either.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't
No,
know where
one,
Definitely
he
you
not.
know,
falls except for just irresponsible. That, he has that title.
A Pookie lame, a lame Pookie. That's what he is. He in between.
Lame is definitely in there, that's for sure. Hmm.
That was something to
and I
keep
bet you he
his.
married to a woman named Shirley.
So
Hey,
Shirley and Charlie sitting in a tree. Yeah, Shirley was a popular name in the 70s. So probably so.
I mean, but if he's 63, that means he was born in
A fifth,
the 60s,
early 60s. Okay. Yeah.
right? Which is the
Hmm.
slacker generation,
Or late 50s. One or two.
right? Which is that, which is the generation of free love, flower power, right? And it's still coming out of that. This young dude,
Hmm.
everything is
Well,
party, party, party. Everything grows on trees. Reefer grows on trees. Heroin grows on plants.
Well, you know what though? I mean, there's something more to it than just that. And I say that only because we had a similar phenomenon happen here in Canada with it doesn't matter if you were an immigrant population as far as you were from you were landed immigrants or you were first or second generation. We had a similar problem happen here. And so all of a sudden in the, late 70s to I'll say, mid 80s, the teen pregnancy issue became such an issue that by the early 90s, you had high schools opening up daycare centers because half of their students had kids. So if you wanted them to keep going to school, you had to give them somewhere to bring the kid. Like that's how bad it got here, right? And like I mean, and I can say my parents, my mother being the nerdy valedictorian of school, right? And she got caught up in it. It wasn't even like it was just the bad kids or just the kids that this and that or just the kids that didn't have two parents. It was like a pretty prolific problem, and it seems to be like North America wide, if not Western world wide, where it's like this
And then you look at
generation just messed
and then
up.
you look at this nigga's witness, right?
Hmm.
Why is this witness speaking so good of Mr. Charlie? Well, he flips Mr. Charlie's social security check.
Uh-uh.
So of course he gonna say that this is, this is a good guy. And well, who did you think she was? Oh, I just thought she was, one of the homegirls.
That was really a sad witness. I mean, um, I don't know
That
what
shit
to
was just
say.
downright disrespectful.
Because she was,
Oh,
let me see,
one
that
of the
guy was
homegirls.
in his 20s at least. So, or maybe he was
That
30. I
was
take that
a
back.
young dope boy that flipped Mr. Charlie's social security check.
Uh-uh. I think he's 30. Let's look and see. He looks about 30.
Like, but
He looks
see,
young, though.
y'all, I don't know if y'all remember. I can't remember the name of the star. I just wrote this comment on something else related to the way it was Dr. Dre's daughter being 38 and homeless and whatever. And I was writing this comment and I said, like, listen, there's an issue where men are, there's this thing where it's like a man is just a paycheck, and that's like, a father's most important role in his children's lives, which is obviously so not true because there was this big story that came out a few years ago too about I can't remember which star it is. It's some rapper or singer, and his biological kids all ain't shit. right? But his
Mm.
stepchildren, the ones who were born basically raised with him the whole time, those are hardworking, motivated kids. They're not expecting handouts. They're excelling in school. They're trying to pay for their own stuff, right? Whereas in the biological kids, they don't have the father's direct input or raising, and he just throws a check at them every month and then expected that they were just going to what? Develop discipline and
Are you
motivation and
talking
all these
about
characteristics by
Kirk
magic.
Franklin? Yeah, I think you're talking about Kirk Franklin's son who outed him. Right,
It might.
the moment Kirk Franklin stopped giving his son money, he
Mm.
basically went viral for outing his dad.
He
Did
stumped.
it? What was it? The okay. I'll tell you what you might specifically remember. I remember the step kid was trying to save up to buy his own car, and so he paid the difference and got him a much better car and whatever, and then posted that all over Facebook. And the biological kids got all hurt, and they're like, "My father cut me off," and like the kids are like 25, 28, and like 30. Like they're not like young kids. And they're like, yeah,
Oh
our
yeah,
father
that
doesn't
might
care
have
about
been
us.
that could have been Brian McKnight. That could have been Babyface.
Oh, maybe
Hell,
it
that
was
could have
Brian
been L.A.
McKnight.
Wow.
Reid's kids.
Yeah,
Same shit.
right. It's the same thing. That's what I was saying. It's happened multiple times where, men have been reduced to, a paycheck basically as far as their value, not understanding like, no, your actual input, your day to day, that quality time, the discipline, all those things that men give to their children is so much more important than like the money, the monetary thing. And
But at the same time though, like with the whole Dre thing.
mhm,
And you remember a couple years back, um, Lawrence Fishburne's daughter, right? Lawrence Fishburne's daughter grew up in the lap of luxury, was given everything, no expense spared, and if she wanted to get in movies, I'm pretty sure she could have. But what does she choose to do instead? She chooses to get into porn, ends up getting on these videos with this dude that looks like a Lloyd Banks impersonator,
Hmm. He sounds
right?
familiar. Uh huh.
mhm,
And now with Dr. Dre's kid. Now to speak fairly, I bet you giving his daughter some money would be a hell of a lot cheaper than giving some white bitch with no blood relation 300 something $1,000 a month. Okay, just saying, 300
mhm.
something $1,000 of spousal support. Bitch, you wasn't with me when I was shooting in the gym. You know what I'm saying?
Well.
But
Yeah.
I do think that it is kind of foul because despite the fact that you know is it reduced down to money? Yeah, there's no shortage of songs with that nigga bragging about his money from going all the way back to the '90s.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mm.
and then your daughter out here struggling, nigga. You got damn near $1 billion.
Oh yeah. Well, and see,
I
but
mean,
that's my point though. My point is actually not in what the women or the children are reducing their father to. It's what the father reduced himself to for 18 to 25 to 30 years, however long he was just throwing money at this problem that is children, and then
well,
goes, "Well, you should be able to do something magically by yourself." Like, did you raise them? You didn't
no,
instill any
no,
values in
it's
them.
a no, it's a thing, right? Imagine you growing up to a celebrity like Dr. Dre, right?
Mhm.
And Dre's your dad, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
And he abandons you and your mom, right, to run off and marry, a slightly younger white bitch, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And and he starts slowly repealing those things back. Now, we all know what that's from. The white bitch is like, why are you still sending money to them kids? They're adults now, da 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 da. But
Mhm.
see, you this other family, your real family, is watching you spare no expense in constantly trying to impress this new flavor of the week, basically.
Mm.
And so you just by osmosis have reduced yourself down to being looked at as a paycheck.
Well, yeah. right? I mean, on both sides, but I think that's also part of the issue because I hear it all the time. Like even with that guy who ended up being on Iyanla, but first he went viral for his little tirade where he was talking about the fact that his wife has never had to pay one bill and he pays all the bills and money, 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 money. And he was there in his kids' lives and inside the household, and yet his whole entire house was just so dysfunctional and broken because what they needed was a father. They needed him to be emotionally and physically present and invested in them. They wanted his guidance and his leadership and his direction and his care. And he
But see,
thought,
at the same
well, his
time,
role
right?
was money.
But see, at the same time, you have to realize why I say abandonment is the original sin.
Hmm.
Because no matter how old the child gets, they're still looking at it as a type of abandonment.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know people that are in their 50s and let me see. Well, she's not 60, but I know several people that are in their 50s and they still have an issue with a parent, either the mother or the father, not being there for them. That
Yep.
just, that rejection, it's always there.
Because
I,
the
Yep.
one person that's supposed to love you is your parents, and when they don't, it's like, oh, I mean, only you look at, you hear that saying, only a mother could love a face like that. You know what I'm saying? Like only your, it's like, come on, if your own parent, the creators of you don't love you, I mean, just imagine how worthless as a child that you feel. You're feeling this as a child, and your
Yep.
parent is making you feel this way. It's helpless because there's
I
nothing
mean,
you can do.
Yep.
I
yeah.
mean, what other social dysfunction do you think abandonment creates? I mean, what do you think would
Anxiety.
motivate?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would motivate old girl that used to play on Family Matters that they caught down in Atlanta, soliciting people for oral favors,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Uh-huh.
What do you think that stems from?
Yep.
Mm.
What do you think would cause an otherwise well-meaning human being to want to sell their body for peanuts on the flesh market?
They don't. And it's funny, I was watching someone did like this review of a wife who's admitting to cheating. She's an slightly older lady and whatever. And she described it. It's like, okay, so when I caught you lying, you're saying your response was to go run out and, give this guy head. And she said yes. And he was like, why would you do that? And she said, basically, it's like self-mutilation. Right. And all the men, including her husband, responding to this, they're like, that's bullshit. But I'm like, that's because you're not a woman. So you don't understand. If you are a woman and, virtue and, the way that you are seen from the sexual marketplace value and all of that stuff is actually very, very relevant. So if you've never been the kind of girl who sleeps around and this and that, and then you go and let yourself be used and run through, it's a form of self mutilation. It is. It's a form of self destruction. Instead of you exploding outwards onto people, you're damaging yourself inwards, right? It's
Wow.
like cutting or it's like doing drugs. It's like doing
Hmm.
things like that, right? And men can't really conceive of it because for them, sex doesn't have that negative connotation, right? It just never will. But for women, it's easier for us to conceive of, oh yeah, you must have really low self-esteem. You must really hate yourself. You must have daddy issues. You must have a lot of damage and abandonment and whatever issues, right? Because girls who really love and respect themselves and think highly of themselves, right, don't go to ghetto gaggers to be run through and used and let millions of people see that, right? Like they just don't. It just doesn't happen.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Greetings.
Ooh, I salute. Hello.
Hey, Dre.
Hey, everybody.
Drizzy.
What's going on? I was just listening in the chat and being a parent, but since Chandra isn't up here, I'm gonna be in the asshole corner,
All
Nice.
right.
right? Um, um, I have this thing about the enablance of ain't shitness to a
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
certain degree. Um,
Yes.
there comes a point in time, regardless of why, how, when it does happen, and it is life. Women, you do give a little bit more of a pass. You give a lot of pass because the world loves women and children. They don't care about men. It's just what it is, and that's how the rules are. You can whine, cry, and complain about it, but it's just what it is. But just looking at these stories and looking at people, you can even raise all of your kids the same. Like, we go to we use the extreme, like, he wasn't around, he was just paying the money, and then he was over here, what I'm saying? And then when he was later on in his career, when he wasn't running around and being on stage where he was producing and he can actually be there, those kids came out better than the ones that he just threw the money to and all this other stuff, right? But let's just go to the regular people thing. And we've seen this in our own families. We've seen how a family like mother, father, or whatever, they had 3 children or 2 children, and they can raise them exactly the same, and
Hmm.
one can just be a fuck up.
Yes, that's true.
You know what I mean? No matter what they do, and then actually in certain times when you actually keep enabling and helping this behavior, it causes a strife between the siblings because there's no consequence, right? There's, what I mean, because you can't be ain't shit unless someone helps enable your ain't shitness.
Okay.
It because the way the laws of nature work, it will X you out of the equation, and a lot of times as parents, it is the hardest thing to do.
Hmm.
It is the absolute hardest thing to conceive and do because you don't want to do that. Like, men are way different, than when it comes that with women. Um, when mothers, because they hold the child for like 9 months, and the body changes and the DNA is transferred, and everything, and the child is actually closer to the mother, where the father really imprints himself really and fully on the child once they're actually there, and they actually have to be around, for that,
Mhm.
what I mean, for that imprint, and all of that. And what I
Right.
usually find with this, even with my own kids, um the oldest one was a knucklehead.
Mhm.
Like he wanted to do everything the hard way. Like, what I'm saying? And I had to do a lot of things and use him as an example so the younger two would know how to act. Because I'm raising boys. And I had
Mhm.
to be more actually non-forgiving because the world is really non-forgiving, especially if you don't look like the dominant Caucasian society in Western society, right?
Right.
Um, So, but when it comes to girls, you have to give that leeway more because it's more it's not as less consequences for boys, but it's way more consequences because then she can bring in all of these lives, right? They're going to need some help, and then you can't leave her out there because then the children suffer, right? So you try to do what you can, but then there's a cutoff. Now, in the point of Dr. Dre's daughter, when I saw that, I read through the comments. I went and did some research because I was trying to see what it was, and he just cut her off. She's 38 years
Mhm.
old. He cut her off 6 months ago.
Mhm.
And then she has a track record of not doing, like, he paid off a bill. She got in some debt when he cut her off. He came back and paid off a bill because she wasn't acting right. She has a drug addiction problem.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can't do nothing with that. Like that, like that's like he put in rehab. She left. She went and ran out. Matter of fact, look at Whitney Houston doing, right? Look at Whitney Houston's doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Same thing happened with her, right? If we look at a lot of these children, if we try to say those stars or whatever, what I mean, and we see it on both ends of the spectrums. We see the Britney Spearses and all these other, what I mean, and all this other stuff about, she actually worked for her money, but still, it's this thing about when you have too much, when you have too much and too much excess, right? We as normal people, our problem is we ain't got enough. You know what I'm saying? But if you do notice that people that are poorer to a certain degree, that don't have access, for some reason, for the most part, they raise better balanced children.
Well, that's a it's not even, and I know this like from actually living the experience as well, like not just from the textbooks, right? Because I
Yeah.
went to the rich white people school. And so therefore I was able to see like, the dropouts of life versus the ones who were excelling, sometimes in the same family. And you could ultimately look at the way that the child was treated and determine what their 5 to 10 year life path was going to be.
Yeah.
And see, it's not actually about money at all. It's
Yep.
about parental investment. So, for example, this one guy, we'll call him John. Okay. So John was like the biggest loser ever. He was basically like a corner boy at the high school when he was 27 still, right? Like he was a complete loser, right? But he lived in this massive mansion and, he had the trust fund from his grandfather, plus his parents were super hella rich and, him and his brother were super spoiled and whatever. His problem was not a lack of money. His problem was a lack of parental investment. For as long as he can remember, his parents didn't raise him. They weren't invested. They would miss his birthday and other important things all the time. They were never around. We were always at Ryan's house. Oops, I mean John's house, right? And his parents were never
Oops.
there. His
Oops.
parents were, I
Whoopsie.
know, right? My bad. But we were always there. His parents were never there. You would think that they didn't live there, right? And the thing is that's all he ever wanted. And so he was acting out and he got into this pattern, right? From very young. He was always in a way acting out and being incredibly self-destructive and sometimes outwardly destructive because he wanted his parents to stop and invest in him, care about him, right? Whereas I have another friend, and I mean, we all knew she was destined for success. Grade 8 valedictorian, high school valedictorian, damn near valedictorian of university. I mean, she was always hitting it. And you know why? Because her parents were hella invested in her, right? And she was smart and sure, whatever, but her parents were very invested. They were very present. She got to know that she was important, that she had rules, but they were fair rules. Her parents like created rules that some of us were like, oh my God, I wish I could have those kinds of rules. Right. But, they were hella invested in her and in her success. So she didn't just get money poured on her. Like she got $100 for every point above 90 that she got in any class, right? So she got a 96% GPA in one class, she got $600 for that class, and so on. So they used their money, right? And yeah, broke people can't do that, right? But they didn't just throw it at her, right? And then, oh, well, I said she wanted a trip. I didn't need to be there. No, family vacations and whatever, right? There was an investment. Her mom made everything at home from scratch, right? So there's that deep direct investment, right? Now, if you go to the opposite side with people who are broker, right? People who have latchkey kids who are never home, they work their asses off all the time, right? Those are kids who are more likely to fall to a wayward side unless they have some other type of investment, not because their parents ain't shit, but because their parents literally just aren't around to raise them, to invest in them. They are desperate for their parents' attention and discipline and guidance. And if their parents literally can't be around for them because they're so busy trying to work to keep food on the table and clothes on their back, right? It's a lot harder for kids to not kind of go out searching for something to fill that hole. And that's ultimately, I think, the problem. That's why I was bringing up the issue with these mega stars who their kids from, say, a first marriage or whatever, who they don't live with. Those are all the fuck ups, right? But all the kids who live with them and stepkids, those are motivated kids. Those are kids who work really hard. Those are kids who are reaching for the stars, the way you would think legacy should be passed down. And well, if your dad's motivated, why aren't you motivated? Well, no one raised them, right? Like this guy who's super motivated, he didn't raise them. He didn't instill that discipline. He didn't, ground them and punish them when they were off track, right? So in a way, he's enabling shitness, but it's from a lack of parental investment. You're just going to throw money at the problem of kids instead of throwing parental investment at them. So what do you expect? And then they're going to keep saying, you never loved me, so you owe me. And you're going to keep paying them because you didn't love them. You didn't invest in them. You feel guilty for it, so you do keep throwing money at the issue. And then you get tired of it one day, you cut them off and you call it enabling a shitness, but they don't have any skills. They don't have any emotional, mental, physical skills to actually cope with reality. They're basically emotionally stuck at being what, 7, 8 years old, maybe 14 at best. And then you're not going to guide them in any way at this point either. When what that's what they need. They need a father. They don't just need you to just financially cut them off. They need you to come in and be the father you weren't when they were kids. to help them get that process kickstarted and get unstuck from being 13, right? Whereas in like your situation, Dre, is different because you were a father, you were
Yeah,
invested,
yeah,
you were there, right? So like
yeah.
there's
That's
a
a,
difference between that and like kids who are broken internally, you know?
yeah, yeah. I see it, and that's what I said. Like, and people, and just to give y'all just a clue, right? I see this every day. This is normal. Like, this is normal Asian society. Like, we talk, what I mean, because the parents do not raise the children after age 6. The thing that separates them is that the way that their society works is that the parents turn them over to the school system and the community. They have greater fear and admiration and respect for their teachers than their own parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because the father's never home. He works 6 days a week, 12 to 14-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's never home. Like, it's really, you remember Sundays in Japan, right?
Yes.
The pops will be looking at the phone because he's being dragged out the house because he has to spend family time. Like, yeah, for real. Like, the father, the mother raises the child up until, up until they go to elementary school, really. And then when they out of elementary school, they go to junior high school, middle school. They leave school, they do their school activity, which is a must, and then they go to cram school and they get home at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And you know what they do? They come in and eat and they study some more and go to sleep and wake
Mm-hmm.
up, rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm. Like
But
you said, that's a societal thing, though. Right? Like that's on a whole. That's the
yeah,
way everyone's doing,
yeah,
and they're a collectivist culture. So they start bonding with the kids in their classes, and start
yeah,
making like this identity. This instead of you're not an independent person, right? There's no rugged individualism there. Like it's everyone is you. So you're all working super hard because you don't want to let everyone down in your class and make your class a stupid class, right? Like it's like the way that they develop their identity is so totally different than like, America or Canada, like societies
yeah.
like this.
Yeah. But here's the problem with that, Ruby, right? Is that, do you know what is the number 2 leading cause of death in Japan or in Asia?
Suicide.
Suicide?
Suicide.
No, suicide is number 1. Number 2 is the
Oh,
children are killing their parents.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, because they put so much pressure on them
yep,
to study, learn. Because I'm spending this money, your grades are like 1 point off, go upside the head, and this newer generation, they're snapping.
yep,
They're killing their parents. Like it's the number 2.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It's like
yeah,
they're getting revenge from the Joy
yeah,
Luck Club years.
yeah. They're like
mm-hmm.
this younger generation not having that because there's no actual investment into the actual child
Right,
by the parents.
emotional investment,
Yeah,
and
there's no emotional investment. Like
nothing's
it
ever enough. Like all they want is their parents to be proud of them just one day, and their parents never give them pride because they think it'll tell the kids to slow down and stop achieving. So like you're always like, I just never good enough for my parents. Like that would be hell.
yeah,
That's
and,
messed
and
up.
and that's what I mean. But that I'm like, but each society is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they have the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's and it actually starts with a societal, like, so really always brings it back to a policy issue
Mm-hmm.
first. You know what I'm saying? Which is a societal issue. And somebody said that society or societal issues don't have anything to do or with policy, but yeah, it does.
Oh, the only reason why you have policies is because they stem from societal issues,
Right.
and then vice versa. What happens is that it doesn't. See, what happens is that you have a generation right now that is under the delusion,
Hmm.
right, that policy can't fix anything. And it's true. Policy isn't meant to fix anything. It's meant to. That's why it's called a revision or reform. Not to say, oh, here's the ultimate fix, and it's going to fix it permanently. No, because when you create a policy, it creates another problem that one was supposed to reform.
I could see that.
And that's why you have all of these additions to the various policies throughout the years. So anybody that says that that goofy shit, kind of like that little line that I hear Suspicious Samuels and Obsidian use. The biggest problem with black people is not that it's not racism or white supremacy. It's the fact that black people don't get along. Well, genius, how the fuck do you think that happened?
Well,
Oh, we just woke up inherently at each other's necks,
Right.
no, it didn't happen that way.
right? Like no, it's because of the system of racism or white supremacy puts us in a position where it does inhibit the men to a greater degree than it inhibits white males. See, that's why you hear these white males running around talking about, oh no, but you talk about with this white privilege. Of course, they're not going to see shit with white privilege because the shit is being done to them by their own group. But what was that thing that we talked about the margin of error or a margin for punishment for white males? The threshold for punishment is higher,
Mhm. Yep.
right? You have there's a lower tolerance to that punishment threshold for non-whites.
Yep. There's
But that
the,
doesn't
not only is the threshold higher, but then the initial punishments are normally easier, right? Like when
right.
you
That
finally
doesn't mean
punish
that
them,
it
it's not
doesn't
as
happen. Like
severe. Yeah.
like for a prime example, did you see the look on Derek Chauvin's face whenever a judge convicted him?
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
Like
what?
I
But
can't believe it. The threshold should have been higher.
Yeah.
Basically what's going on in his mind.
Yeah. Because that's what they're taught their whole lives, right? Even with
yeah,
people who go to, they've done like studies like in schools with grade school kids. And you look at, and so they, like the people don't know that they're being observed, right? And they just observe it after the fact. Let's see how kids are tolerated and punished and whatever. And black kids, they can do the most minute things and they're yelled at, they're punished, they're sent to the office, they're sent to the corner, right? Like for the
suspended.
most minute things. And
Hmm.
like little white boys who have ADHD, they're sitting there, they're punching kids in the face, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're just being told at best maybe to sit down. Sometimes they're not even corrected at all, right? So it's not that they're they're committing less crimes, kitty crimes, right? It's not that they're doing it less. In fact, if anything, they might be doing it slightly more. They're just punished for it less. And when they get a punishment, the punishment's less severe. So then what goes on the records, the permanent records, the things that they look at is, oh, black kids are disruptive. Black kids are unruly. Black kids don't like to listen. But it's just because, you know what? They're being over policed, right? And over punished for the exact same
Because
behaviors.
because
So there's
that
no real
threshold
record.
because where that threshold is for the punishment of non-whites and where the ground right is, that's about how low the threshold is,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why it seems like whites get away with a whole lot of shit in comparison to us. Yes,
Yeah.
but if you see the way white folks treat each other, like why does a trailer park exist if whites were treated so well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they separate themselves. Yeah.
Why does a trailer park even exist? Why does a tent town? The fact that Skid Row is real.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see when you go out on Skid Row? Well, you don't see a whole lot of niggas.
That's their portion of the ghetto.
Yeah.
Like, how come these white folks they pretend to be the goddamn moral authority and look at all these white folk they got living out here on the street? And with the males, why you think there was such a major push from the men's rights activists to begin with? Because you start seeing more and more white males holding up signs on the side of the freeway while you're trying to enjoy your coffee on your way to work.
Mm.
Yeah, when they start affecting them financially, they're like, oh, hell no.
While when you look while when you look at the
Mm-hmm.
other side with the white women, they're all shopping at Sephora, Ulta, right, Bloomingdale's,
Saks
right,
Fifth
Saks Fifth
Avenue.
Ave, right,
Mm-hmm.
I'll
and
take
and
that
and and,
wrapped
and,
up,
a, and a
please.
dude she just raked over the coals is sitting out on the side of the freeway, newly divorcee, just need a little help.
Got a little change in a spare change. No, I ain't got no spare change. Get a spare
Any
job.
dollar will do. You know?
Well, I'm going to end it on that, everyone. And I want to thank you all for joining us and tuning in and supporting. I like the likes, the shares, all of that.
Hmm.
All that is support to me. And I do appreciate your watch time, all of that. Join us tomorrow for Article Reactions, 6:30
Hmm.
p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll probably have some more virus news and definitely Ken and Karen. So definitely tune
Hmm.
in.
Well,
6:30
Hmm.
p.m.
I appreciate you having me up again. I'm
Oh,
just now
sure.
getting off my feet. I've been doing all of these in home projects that I abandoned and neglected for so long, and I'm seeing progress. I'm now just sitting down and able
Oh,
to enjoy as a spectator. So thanks for having me. And it's way past my bedtime. My body is like literally like just torn down. Like I'm exhausted for real.
rest, rest, rest.
Get your rest.
Hmm.
Well, everyone, hope to see you tomorrow. And until then, peace.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace out, family.
Salute to the nation.
Hey, folks, it's your nighttime, it's your right time DJ Music. Make sure you join Char Willie each and every Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, for Article Reaction, right here on your local YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to Article Reaction.